Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say, I got them picking up the pieces. That mean you really playing with your life, I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like, hold up, I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing, keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get big right, cause it can get big right. Hey, please don't play no games with me, I promise I'm too much. Ay, I can never let up even if you had enough. Ay, this ain't for the faint of heart, we always playing rough. I had enough, it ain't luck. I needed a vision, I needed ambition, I needed a mission to be this submission with no intermission. I see the collision, the crash in the distance, they coming off track, no. Now when they ask what's the motive, don't talk about the show. They all about to see what I mean in the moment. I gotta keep going, I'm shaking the dice and I'm keeping it rolling, they already know. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand, ayy. We on overtime, you don't need to understand, ayy. You just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing, keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get big right, cause it can get big right, cause it can get. They hate when you elevate. They stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate. They never believed that I would really fly, I had to go demonstrate. I had to set them straight. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. Yeah, they hate when you elevate, elevate, elevate. They hate when you elevate, yeah. I had to elevate. I'm way too fly. Yeah, I'm feeling myself. Ain't no chance I'm coming down, no. Got a soul view to myself, yeah. Why would I give it up? Why do they wanna come take my place? I work.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, ATP. What's good with you, man? Clap it up one time for you guys. A couple of us creeping into the building. Oh, we're going to talk some boxing this morning. You know how we carry it, man. Salute and good morning to everybody who is here. 5 people in the building right now. The show's starting. You know what time it is. It is prime time boxing content creation time. So everybody is going, and I appreciate anybody who's here right now taking a moment to build with the kid. We got some things to talk about today, obviously. That's why we're here, right? Got to find things to talk about in the boxing space. It's kind of quiet as far as fights coming up. We got a little bit of downtime, but not really. I mean, there's still boxing going on, but, you know, the big events seem to be getting ready to kick off as we creep into September. And obviously everybody's waiting for the big show, the big fight that's going down between Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. But also other things are going on in the space right now. It looks like Jermell Charlo is stirring the pot a little bit, right? He's convincing me a little bit more and a little bit more each day as he's putting out little things on social media to kind of give the world a heads up on what the game plan is going to be. That he plans on entering 154. He plans on becoming champion, unifying, maybe even undisputed, as he has all the champions in his crosshairs. Postings on social media with the Lions only, chewing on the boots, eating on a tall giraffe representing Sebastian Fundora, eating on a shark representing Errol Spence Jr., smoking a cigar that says Bud on it, smoking, smoking on a Bud pack. Did he have anything for Virgil? I think he had like a ox or something representing Virgil. Not too sure, but ultimately Jermell's letting it be known that he's back at it again, and also letting the space know that the reason he was not here this whole time isn't his fault. People have been holding him accountable, saying that Jermell's gotten rich and gotten in satin sheets and waking up in satin pajamas and can't find the motivation to get back into boxing. And he's letting the space know that can be further from the truth. So we can only speculate as to why then, if it's not his fault, if it's not him staying out of boxing, and what kept Jermell Charlo out this whole entire time, we can speculate, right? You guys know I have my little preconceived, thoughts in my mind about what could potentially be happening over there on that side of the street. I wonder if that's what affected his return, or, maybe some other things, right? Maybe he had hand surgery. Maybe his hands was messing with him again, or maybe he had some other things going on. Who knows, right? Eventually, we'll find out what's in the dark will come to the light. Another announcement been made. Floyd Schofield Jr. looks like he's going to be contesting Raymond Moratala. I guess they're in negotiations for this fight in November. Floyd Schofield Jr. finally gets an opportunity at a title. Can't lie, you guys, thought it would have been the WBA, being that he's ranked so high in that. But now that we know that Lucas Body looks like he's kind of locked in some sort of a mandatory position, or a little, next in line, may have jumped over Floyd Schofield, who, according to the rankings, was number one. Lucas Body was number 2 or 3, but now being in the conversation for the challenge for that title, regardless, doesn't matter. Instead of Andy Cruz, also who we thought who fought in an eliminator, we thought he was going to be the one who's going to be in line to fight Raymond Moratala. Looks like they're entertaining this Floyd Schofield fight, which is going to be an interesting fight. We got to talk about that. You guys know, I told you guys already, from Riyadh season, I kind of wondered what happened to Floyd Schofield Jr. No real evidence, documentation was ever provided to back up any allegations of food poisoning or things of that nature out there. But we do know that something happened with Floyd Schofield Jr. out there. When you had, Shakur Stevenson's team members, and even Shakur Stevenson saying when they saw Floyd Schofield in Riyadh that it looked like he was off weight. He looked like he was a big guy for the 135-pound division, and they were concerned about him making weight. So, it might be just a coincidence, right? But then you see interviews with Floyd Schofield Sr. speaking on how he didn't want to compete underneath the WBC sanctioning body rules as far as cutting weight and what he had to be. They didn't like the way that happened. He seemed very frustrated with that with the weight rehydration rules and the weight checks that were happening 7 days before the fight, 14 days before the fight, 30 days before the fight. And I guess those restrictions made him uncomfortable, and he brought this up as far as concern of his son's health. That being said, we can add on the fact that he had to strip bucket naked to make weight against Tevin Farmer. I do have some concerns about a rehydration clause that I think would be in effect if he fights Raymond Moratala for this title. So this rehydration clause basically states that he has to stay inside of 10 pounds of the weight limit of the morning of the fight, right? And then he can gain his weight back naturally. So an uphill battle maybe ahead for Floyd Schofield Jr. if this fight gets put together. Raymond Moratala moves away. What do we do with Andy Cruz? Moves away from Andy Cruz, finds his way outside of that situation. Andy Cruz, decorated amateur, Olympian, but only 6 professional fights in his career. A lot of risk, low reward fighting Andy Cruz. What does he do next? He's also ranked high up in the WBC ranking structure as well. But, not a lot of money there for Andy Cruz, unless somebody like a Turkey Al-Sheikh or some sort of real investment institution gets behind this Andy Cruz train, how's Andy Cruz going to get himself in front of a champion with just 6 professional fights? We'll talk about the 135 division in general today as well, right? We'll talk about that as well. And obviously, open up the panel to the usual suspects. We'll be building on boxing, of course. Let me do a quick little roll call for the people who are in the building right now. Des215 in the building. Salute to you, family. Salute back at you, man. Kalia World, good morning, Queen. Good to see you in the building. Hope you're in good health and good mental space, good spirits. Walaikum salam to my brother Fly Frequency in the building. Let me see. Kalia says, I think he's trolling. You talking about Jamel? I don't think he's trolling, but I think, and we're going to talk about it. The question is, first of all, why wasn't he in the ring? And also, okay, why do you feel like you can get in the ring now? What is opened up? Because fighters like Jamel Charlo, Errol Spence, right? These fighters on the PBC banner, ended and walked away from their last fights with their biggest paydays. Canelo Alvarez for Jamel Charlo, and of course the Terrence Crawford fight with Errol Spence. So yesterday's price will never be today's price. What exactly is why the return now, and who's facilitating and building up something that makes sense to a Jamel Charlo to come back into the game? So is he trolling? I think there's a thin line in this boxing game between trolling and ability to do what you say you want to do, right? I think there's a good chance that Jamel Charlo wants to come back, wants to compete, but I'm sure more importantly, he wants to get paid, right? So we'll talk about it. Antonio MMA in the building. Salute to you, fam. Hope everything is good. Mr. Big Play Bray in the building says, good morning, boxing family. Come in and hit the like button. Yeah, definitely do that. Hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do that as well. But definitely hit the like button. Share the channels. Let people know that we're up here talking about boxing. And let them know what days we're up, right? What is it? Antonio MMA said it'd be really good for the division for Mel to come back. 100%. 154 is priming itself to be a very exciting division. We've already known it's a Hornets Nest division, but going into 2026, everybody seems to be moving accordingly. I know people like Jaron Ennis is getting pushed back for the fights or the fight he chose right now, fighting against Lima. But at the end of the day, what I love about 154 is the schedule of these fighters seem to be falling right with each other. They're aligning. I like it. It leaves a lot of opportunity for some great matchups. We're going to see Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman early November. We're going to see Jaron Ennis early October, and we're going to see Virgil Ortiz versus Erickson Lubin early November, and we're going to see Sebastian Fundora and Keith Thurman late October, and Jaron Boots Ennis early October. Everybody seems to be getting right on that same page. That's great for boxing and great for the 154-pound division. If there's a willingness to make great fights, then the great fights can be made, right? Because these guys are getting put on the same schedule. We even seen Xander Zayas maneuver his way. He's trying to get into title fights. He had the makeshift face-off with was it Abbas Baharu? After he had his upset win over Yoenis Tellez. So maybe he's trying to unify or collect another title. But, Virgil and Xander are communicating on social media. There's a lot going on at 154. So 154 is ending up looking like a very interesting division. Antonio MMA says, in today's times, we don't see many passing of the torch fights, but Mel is the lineal 154-pound champion. I can't argue with that. And him giving someone an opportunity at that makes for an all-time classic. Yeah, man, 100%, man. I think Jamel Charlo leaving when he did after he fought Canelo Alvarez, he left in a prime time in his career. I think he was really he has a lot left in him, but you got to ask yourself a legitimate question and say, 2 years gone from the space. I mean, you got to hope and believe that he's been in the gym, staying busy, staying active, staying in shape, but still 2 years out of the ring can throw somebody off, and a lot of things have changed over there, right? One of the main things being Derrick James not being part of a lot of these guys' camp anymore, at least in the same capacity he was before. So we got to see. Jamel may have, who's he coming in with? Is it going to be Juan Guzman? And how has that dynamic melted together? Is that a good dynamic? Is that going to translate well into the second half or this next chapter of Jamel Charlo's career, right? So all these different moving parts. And Errol Spence, of course, we don't know what's going on with him. We know he's not working with Derrick James right now. So who's even training him, and what's the holdup? kind of blacked out from social media when it comes to boxing. Every now and then you see him sparring in the ring or doing something in the gym, but generally speaking, not really communicating with the space. And I'm sure a lot of content creation platforms out here, specific ones, have access to Errol Spence, but you'd have to believe that Errol Spence is purposefully staying out of the limelight. Why? Right? Why has got to be the question. Shout out to Pugilism in the building. Says Bud beat Spence and Mel Charlo in one fight through beating Spence and doing the Ultimate Warrior on the top turnbuckle. Call out to Mel. Yeah. That was a good one. I wonder if Jamel Charlo and Terrence Crawford is even a realistic fight at this point. Terrence Crawford, listen, man, nothing matters right now in the Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez conversation except those guys fighting each other, right? Like, we got to be honest. Nothing matters but that. So, Mel, just letting it be known, I think, that everybody can get it. And I think that's a good look, man. And I love the fact that he's aiming at championships. I'm like, he could have came back trying to, make a super fight and just make the biggest amount of money, make a super fight. But I love legacy-driven fighters. Those fighters always, just do well for a boxing fan. A boxing fan always has a good time watching a legacy fighter on his journey, knowing what he's looking for. And it's about facilitating. And I think in this space, it can be facilitated. I wonder if the Charlos have any real issues with working with Turkey as well. You think the Charlos have any real issues with doing what David Benavidez did? Big paydays, big fights. I'm interested in seeing the way he's going to approach it when he returns, Tay Bugs in the building. Salute, Tay Bugs. Good morning to you, King. Hope everything is good with you. Says Claymore Rain. Good morning, family. How you feeling this morning? Stay on the ground, my guy. Thank you, man. I'm feeling good this morning, man. Feeling good this morning. Haven't gone to the gym yet. I'm doing an afternoon gym today. Had things to do, man, in the home, right? Little things I had to do today. So took the moment when I woke up this morning to get behind that. And, of course, do the show with you guys today. But I'm feeling good, man. I appreciate you giving me a little wellness check there. Shout out to Tay Bugs in the building. Let's see. Continue to scroll down. We got a lot of things on here. Kalia World says, she's laughing at me. Are you laughing at me, Ray? Ray Davis in the building. Ray should be up here a little bit later as well. I know he's handling some home things as well, but he'll be in the chat here, keeping you guys entertained and making sure you guys are doing what you're supposed to be doing. So let's talk about some boxing, right? Didn't really set up a real curriculum today, but wanted to cover certain topics. Let's double back and talk about this Floyd Schofield Jr. conversation. So Floyd Schofield Jr. and Kid Austin and Raymond Moratala, right? This is a weird, it's good, but at the same time unexpected, right? A few months ago, Andy Cruz won his title eliminator and was in line to fight Raymond Moratala, and what was sent out there and communicated to the space was that Raymond Moratala was looking for a stay busy fight, right? Wasn't going to fight Andy Cruz just yet, even though Andy Cruz would have been, I feel like he should have been some sort of a mandatory, but don't quote me. If L-Dub, the boxing plug, is in here, maybe he can add some context or put some perspective on as far as to really understand what we're looking at here. But it was understood, for me at least, that I felt like next in line was Andy Cruz, but the IBF was allowing Raymond Moratala to go ahead and get a stay busy fight of sorts, right? But we end up in this situation where he's fighting Floyd Schofield Jr., entertaining it at least, right? It's not final, it's not penned out, but this is what Ring Magazine's put out there, that the negotiations are active. So in November, looking forward to seeing those guys fight. But what exactly happened? Why not Andy Cruz? And is Floyd Schofield Jr. a stay busy fight? Is he a tune-up fight? Is he a easier fight for him than Andy Cruz? I mean, it's not far-fetched that he may see it that way. Andy Cruz bringing that pedigree of boxing and his ability to really just make a fight very cerebral could be a more difficult fight for a fighter like Raymond Moratala, who, mixes it up well with the boxing and the punching and things of that nature. But, cerebral fights can be very stressful, right? Like anything cerebral can be just as stressful or even more stressful than physical at the end of the day. And we can acknowledge that, right? Anything cerebral can be a complicated situation. I could see somebody choosing physical over cerebral or vice versa. Somebody like Shakur Stevenson probably looks to dive into a cerebral fight, right? He entertains fighting Andy Cruz. He thinks that fight would be a beautiful fight based on the pedigree, the sweet science that these guys both bring to the table. But maybe Raymond Moratala looks at it a little bit differently. But now we have the other side of the coin, which is Floyd Schofield Jr., who's going to be fighting for an IBF title. And we know that there's a rehydration clause with the IBF. Anytime you hear about the IBF, you know that rehydration clause is right there around the corner. And you look at fighters like Richardson Hitchens, who've stayed away from punchers like Subriel Matias and brought up and had no problem being transparent with the space that the rehydration clause was something that brought him concern, and he wouldn't want to get in the ring with a pressure fighter and a puncher like Subriel Matias with that rehydration clause. So now that obviously Subriel Matias has earned himself a title in the division, this rehydration clause isn't as much of a factor as it was back in the day. So maybe we might see a Hitchens and Subriel Matias. I digress and return to the point being that Floyd Schofield Jr., who in his last fight against Tevin Farmer had to strip butt naked in order to make the weight against Tevin Farmer. Now, guys, I don't know how you guys look at it, but from my perspective, I've always looked at Floyd Schofield Jr. as a big 135-pound fighter, right? He's one of the bigger, stronger looking fighters in that division. And watching him strip down naked to make weight against Tevin Farmer, and you combine that with what happened in Riyadh season, his father has worked very diligently hard and stayed behind to put the focus on foul play being the culprit in Riyadh season, but no evidence or any documentation, which Senior has adamantly stated that it's there. He could provide it at any time to show and prove about what he's gone through. He always has made it clear that there's documentation to back this up, but we've never been it's never been made out of the dark to the light for us to see it, right? So you combine that with Shakur and his team talking about seeing Floyd Schofield a week before the fight and saying questioning how is this dude going to make weight, right? How is this dude going to make weight? So that being said, going into a fight with a Raymond Mortal in November, having, the division seems to get a little too big for the division. Are the Schofields staying at 135 too long? And will this fight right here show that and expose that in Floyd Schofield Jr., that he may have stayed in division one fight too long, especially with a rehydration clause? We'll see how this develops. You got to ask yourself also, if this does happen and it turns out he was on his last leg, then how is he being managed? I mean, when I saw this match made, I said to myself, hold on, is Raymond Mortal a golden boy fighter or a top rank fighter? Because it seems like perfect timing for Raymond Mortal, who's looking for a fight like, I would say, him leaving and not fighting Andy Cruz, him passing on that and accepting this fight from a big so-called puncher. That's what I would consider this. I would consider Floyd Schofield the puncher in this fight. Raymond Mortal taking this fight over Andy Cruz. What does he know that maybe all of us don't know, right? It is what it is. What we got going on here in the chat here? Hold on. We got a lot going on in the chat. What are we talking about, man? Shelton Moore in the building. Salute. Shelton says Schofield Jr. has gas tank issues. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of things going on. Salute to Shelton Moore, by the way, in the building. Says salute. Lost a lot of respect from him after he moved up to 168 and laid down for Alvarez. Oh, yeah, okay. Would you believe I had a brain fart and I was trying to figure that whole thing out? Yeah, that fight he had was I definitely wasn't happy with the way he represented in that fight. I mean, if you're gonna take a fight like that, you know what I mean? Let's see here. I'm just looking down here in the chat to see if there's anything going on. Fans care about rehydration clause. They should care about sanctions. The aircraft carrier says, if fans care about rehydration clauses, they should care about sanctioning fees. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't think that's really consistent. Like, I don't know if I should care about sanctioning fees. I think rehydration clause holds a lot of weight because of the conditioning of the fighter, which translates into the performance of the fighter in the ring. But their sanctioning fees don't really move me one way or the other. I think that's more of a fighter's concern than my concern. But I mean, it is what it is, right? Mr. Big Play Bray says Schofield Jr. I just can't entertain him because okay, I got you, man. Certain stuff fans shouldn't care about. Oh, so you feel we shouldn't care about the rehydration clause? I mean, I could resonate a little bit with your point a little bit. The aircraft carrier, should we care about the rehydration clause? I don't know if I care about it, But I think we can factor in the rehydration clause into speaking towards whether or not this is going to affect his performance in an adverse way. And is this a smart move for him strategically in his career? Is he holding on to 135 pounds legacy a little too long? Why is Floyd Schofield Jr. hanging out? And why do fighters in general hang out in divisions as long as they do when they know the weight it's time to move up? What holds a fighter back? Normally legacy, right? Sometimes money. In the Jaron Ennis situation, it was definitely legacy. The money for him was at 154 pounds, and people were questioning what was fueling the idea of him staying in the division when we're watching him fight to fight look unhealthy in his weight cuts, looking depleted in his weight cuts, but he looks good on fight night. And why was it? We understand he wanted to unify. He was trying to chase undisputed at one point in time at 147, but ultimately he wanted to at least fight for a championship belt. So he stayed down there and fought Stanionis, but immediately once he got that appetite satiated as far as the legacy that he wanted to accomplish in that division, you see he moved up to 154. Even with Brian Norman Jr. chasing him down and telling him, listen, don't leave, we got a fight to make, and him looking like a duck, ultimately he probably did the smart move by getting out of a division he was clearly having a hard time making the weight in. Now, bringing back full circle to Floyd Schofield Jr., why would we bring up the rehydration clause? Well, I would bring it up because it's my job to give you guys all the intangibles. That's what I try to do, right? I'm over here building on this boxing with you. So what are the intangibles in this fight? Well, one of the intangibles is Raymond Moratala not fighting Andy Cruz and fighting Floyd Schofield. How does he look at Floyd Schofield Jr.? How do we look at Floyd Schofield Jr.? Is he not a contender? Did he not just come off of a performance of the best performance of his career against Tevin Farmer? Is he not an up and coming star in the making for Golden Boy? And if that is the case, combine that with the rehydration clause, why would you stick him in a fight for a championship belt and put a rehydration clause on him, right? So these are just little intangibles and things we can talk about. It is what it is, man. Let me see here. Let's see. Let's continue to go down here. Gas tank issues, certain stuff. Issues, Schofield Senior's a liar. Sko gonna it will say Sko's gonna stop Moratala. I mean, I can see it. It will for sure. I could definitely see him stopping Moratala. But once again, these little intangibles, like I said to you guys, I questioned how long he was gonna stay at 135 a long time ago, and to see him strip naked to make weight against Tevin Farmer was telling, in my opinion. It just continues to fuel my suspicion that there may be some weight cut issues going on over there, and I'm wondering how long they plan on staying there. Maybe get that IBF title, and then what? Are they going to leverage it at 140? I just feel like we're going to see Schofield Jr. go to 140 soon. Peace, Robin Crown in the building, man. Salute to you, family. Peace. Ill Will says dehydration clause can affect fighters, so I care. Thank you, Ill Will. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Aircraft Carrier agrees. There we go. No doubt, man. Let me see if High Frequency says, hell yeah, we should care about rehydration clause because it's used for an advantage most times and puts fighters at risk. Also affects performance. Thank you. That's why we care about those things, man. That's why we speak on those things. Ill Will says Moratala can't mess with Andy's speed and angles. Will make him look silly. Yeah. But I think we saw a lot of athleticism from Floyd Schofield as well, man. Maybe a little understated. Very athletic when he fought against Tevin Farmer. Obviously, the power was there as well, but obviously fast. Brings all those intangibles that make him a great fighter. Although Senior at times can be cringe with his antic-driven, nonsense that I call nonsense that he does on social media from time to time. We can't take anything away from Floyd Schofield Jr.'s ability, but that dynamic over there, as long as it's working, it's working until it's not working, right? It is what it is. What do you got to say? Kalia says, do your prediction yet for Canelo versus Crawford? I mean, listen, I'm picking Crawford to win the fight. If you want me to give you a play-by-play prediction, I got one I'm working on, how the path to victory for Crawford. I mean, I clearly know the path to victory for Canelo Alvarez, which is do you. Right? Canelo, do what you do. Pressure, power, push the pace on Terrence, cut the ring up on Terrence, and smother Terrence's game plan, strategy, offense, or defense with more offense. That's what I see Canelo doing. Now, if Canelo Alvarez decides that he wants to compete with Terrence Crawford in Terrence Crawford's playground, which is show that he's the better boxer, which he could do. We can see Canelo Alvarez get on that part where he's on his toes, bouncing around, moving, trying to be faster than Terrence, trying to be more Terrence than Terrence. That could be an interesting fight, and that could put Canelo in a compromised situation. I could see Terrence Crawford taking his time on his jab, but I also feel like that stab to the body is going to play a part. That's probably going to be the protein on the plate. If at the end of a victory for Terrence Crawford, that protein is probably going to be that body work, that body campaign, strategically cutting angles. I think the clinching and the strength of Terrence Crawford is going to play a role in this fight as well. I think being able to get in there mid-range, end up close range, working Canelo's body, putting himself in position to hit and not be hit also involves him having strategically placed clinching in the fight, especially within the first 4 to 5 rounds is going to be very important for Terrence Crawford to stick to a strategy that allows him to be in the fight, win as many early rounds as possible. This fight going into the championship rounds, Terrence Crawford has to be concerned with the judging in this fight. He has to be concerned with the leverage that Canelo Alvarez brings as far as draw power and star power, right? This leans a lot on the judges. I don't care what anybody says. The judges take these type of things into consideration. There's always a bigger plan. The politics of boxing are always alive and well and watching over everything going on in boxing. So if you allow the politics of boxing to get involved with your business, you may end up on the bad side, right, of some politics in boxing. So I think Terrence wants to remove them as much as he can from the conversation, which involves potentially stopping Canelo Alvarez or even dominating 8 rounds, lion's share of 12 rounds, 8-4, 7-5 is cutting it close. Terrence has a real battle ahead of him. But I haven't come up completely with how he wins a fight. But I do believe, like I said, the protein on the plate is going to be that body work. I think we've never really seen fighters really focus on Canelo's body like that. He's always been able to keep most fighters he gets in the ring with on their toes and alert, and they're always trying to stay away from the power. We've seen what he did with William Skull. We've seen what he did with Caleb Plant. These fighters understand what he brings to the table. But Edgar Berlanga, for all of his shortcomings, if he exposed anything from Canelo Alvarez, is probably that Canelo can be hit today. And I think a lot of people are factoring Canelo's biggest fights or the fights where he showed his athleticism the most, like the Danny Jacobs and the fights, Arizlandi Lara's, Floyd Mayweather. The fights where he was challenged the most in were the fights where he faced the boxers and he showed his athleticism in those fights. But Father Time is undefeated, and you haven't seen that Canelo for a very long time. Got to be honest. That version of Canelo, the closest we've seen of that version of Canelo was against Caleb Plant, and I don't even think it was like that. I think he was just stalking Caleb Plant in that whole fight. So if Terrence Crawford can force adjustments and put Canelo into uncomfortable situations to where Canelo has to figure out problems in the ring, where he can have mathematical issues in the ring that he's trying to figure out, Terrence Crawford could take advantage of that lull time, that transition from one style to another style, and make some big things happen in that fight. Right? It is what it is. Shout out to Respect 90210 in the building, says, you think it'll be tough for Schofield to fight Teofimo Lima at 140? Yeah, I think it'll be tough for anybody to fight Teofimo. I think Teofimo's a great fighter. The thing about Teofimo is you just don't know who you're going to get. That mental strength, that grit, it comes into question a lot with Teofimo Lopez. And it's always about that with him, right? It's always about who's showing up in the ring and things of that nature. I want to see if that dynamic with him and his father, if that evolves into something better than what we've seen as of late. A lot of little variables with Teofimo Lopez, but on a ground level, Teofimo is just a talented fighter. So and definitely more experienced than Schofield. Is that what he's saying? You think it'll be tough for SS? Shakur Stevens. My God. I was thinking about Schofield the whole time. My apologies, Respect 90210. 100%. I think when it comes to that fight right there, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Teofimo has a puncher's chance in that fight. I know, right? Let me take a sip of water. I don't think he can compete. I don't think he can compete with with Shakur Stevenson on a cerebral level. I think he can compete. Let me not say that. He can compete. But I just think Shakur Stevenson is there's levels to this game. And I think Shakur Stevenson's at the highest level in this part of the game, the cerebral part of the game, the boxing part of the game, where Teofimo can bring issues up. Shakur Stevenson may be his athleticism and his ability to use his athleticism and the punching power that we haven't seen, if we want to be honest, Teofimo put on the big stage since he's been at 140, right? Not in real time. You know what I mean? It has that power translated. And without that power, I don't know. I think in that fight, Teofimo has a puncher's chance against Shakur Stevenson. I definitely favor and lean towards Shakur Stevenson to win that fight. I just think in the IQ battle, not too many people can compete with him. And I haven't seen enough strategy, and I haven't seen him really showcase the level of IQ that I've seen Shakur Stevenson showcase in his fights. That's where I'm at with that. He gonna beat the Hebrew-ish out of Alvarez. It is what it is. Thank you for the color in the chat. Respect 90210 says that's Shakur, not Schofield. Yeah. I got you, man. I think I caught up. I caught up on it. I appreciate the $2 though to get me up on point where I need to be. I appreciate that. Where what I mean. It is what it is. It is what it is. Pugilism says that's it. Bud shoots at what's open and creates openings to shoot. And when he shoots, it can be single shots or quick rapid fire combos quicker than Canelo. 100% pugilism. 100%. It's real, man. That fight is going to be very interesting fight. And like I said yesterday, man, it's so interesting how the space is jumping behind. A lot of people are jumping behind Canelo, obviously, the David Benavidez's, and, a lot of people are picking Canelo. And I think Canelo could be an obvious choice for people. But a lot of people who are really interested in this fight and who think Terrence can win this fight, they think Terrence can win it because of what's going on between his ears and then the athletic ability and his discipline and how committed he's been to the sport. He's in great shape. He's in a great space mentally and physically for a moment and opportunity like this. He's not your regular 36-year-old, 37-year-old guy, right? It is what it is. King Brian says Teo doesn't have power anymore. I mean, like I said, he hasn't showcased it, at least. We haven't seen him stop nobody. He was nowhere near stopping. I didn't even see him hurt Arnold Barboza. Steve Claggett, I didn't see him hurt him. Jermaine Ortiz, you didn't hurt him. Sandor Martin, you didn't hurt him. I mean, did you hurt Josh Taylor? Maybe. It didn't look like you did. Looked like you just outclassed him. And Josh Taylor, a come forward kind of fighter at times, kind of easy to set up with stuff like that. I mean, who's the last real cerebrally blessed fighter did Teofimo get in the ring with? This would be a super step up in competition for him fighting against Shakur Stevenson. It is what it is, right? So anyway, for Schofield Jr., Raymond Mortalo, we'll see how those negotiations open up for him and see what kind of we'll see what kind of Schofield we get on that night. But I do think it's interesting that he ends up over there. And, it's also interesting how the boxing space may be looking at him. Raymond Mortalo taking this fight. Is this going to be on a Golden Boy platform, or is this going to be on a top ranked platform? We'll figure that out, right, as time goes by. That being said, Jermell Charlo, segueing into that, and we'll probably open up the panel after that to a certain degree. Jermell Charlo opening up conversations about what he plans on doing at 154. Where does he go now, being a mandatory? At least that's what the WBA seems to be trying to do with him, and put him in a mandatory position to fight against Abbas Baharu, the new interim WBA champion. Expectations of him being elevated when Terrence Crawford gets inside of the ring, right? It is what it is. It is what it is. We'll see how Jermell gets into the game and what he decides to do. I think it'll be great for 154. I think he brings a lot of, everybody knows who Jermell Charlo is, and they know what he meant to 154, right? Respect 2010 in the building. Back in there says, you think longer Tank takes to fight Shakur Stevenson and favors Shakur Stevenson? The longer it takes to fight Shakur Stevenson, is it more a favor towards Shakur Stevenson? Yes, I'm going to say yes. But the reason I'm going to say yes is because I think we need to just sit back and watch with a boxing eye as to what this Tank Davis Jake Paul fight really means for Tank Davis's career, as far as what he plans on doing. And also, we'll have to watch closely as to how going up in weight however many pounds. Like, I don't expect Tank Davis to show up to no fight against Jake Paul at nowhere near 190 pounds, right? Nowhere near it. It's not even, I don't even know if it's feasible. But I expect him to go up in weight a lot from what he fights at 135. You put him in there against Jake Paul, and let's say he steps in the ring 165, 170, 160, let's say. Now for him to come back to 135 and cut that weight, I think it's a dangerous proposition for Tank Davis. I think this move with Jake Paul, I believe, is very risky for Tank Davis if indeed he plans on returning back to 135 to compete with Shakur Stevenson. And that right there becomes more of an issue than as to whether or not Shakur Stevenson continues to evolve into the best fighter, which I think he's doing. I think he evolves. He's a student of the game. He stays inside of the ring. You see him out there with Terrence Crawford. He's soaking up game. He's becoming a better fighter. But I think the bigger topic of conversation with Gervonta Tank Davis, if the topic indeed is him still fighting a Lamont Roach or Shakur Stevenson or Teofimo Lopez, is how will that weight cut, how will that transition affect him in the long run if that's indeed the long game for Tank Davis. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm more so leaning towards him retiring or moving away or moving out of a situation. I'll put him in the ring with a Shakur Stevenson. But if indeed that's what he plans on doing, then I think the bigger question is how that transition is going to affect him more than whether or not Shakur Stevenson is becoming better over time, which I think he is becoming better over time. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Hope that answered your question, man. Pugilism says if Canelo's trying to play possum, Bud simply controls that range. If Canelo presses, he'll get locked up and have to stand up and grapple with Bud to keep Bud uncomfortable. Yeah, man, listen, man. Terrence Crawford has earned the respect of the boxing space. Anybody who truly watches boxing and understands boxing for what it is, you have to respect what Terrence Crawford has done in his game and how he's evolved. And also, we have to admit that Terrence Crawford has proven a lot of people wrong in different ways. The strength conversation, we saw that completely be neutralized when he fought against Errol Spence. Now, people who are either Errol Spence fans or Bud detractors, they're going to bring up, Errol Spence's health. Maybe he wasn't 100% who he was. Okay, fine, right? But a lot of people in the industry, in the boxing space, who have locked up with Terrence Crawford have all spoke one way. And that is, the man is way stronger than they thought he was. And we're talking about from young bulls like Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson, who will tell you how strong he is, and all the way up to big, heavy guys like Jarrell Big Baby Miller, right? Who will tell you that man is strong. So a lot of the idea behind Canelo Alvarez being the bigger, stronger guy inside of that ring, as the days go by, I believe it's becoming less and less of a factor. And unfortunately, or fortunately, or whatever, however anybody wants to look at it, when you listen to a David Benavidez assess Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford, or even if you hear Tim Bradley, or you hear Robert Garcia, or you hear any of the respected, credible pundits in the space speak on this fight, they bring up the power, the size difference. They bring this up as the thing that Canelo has leverage over Terrence Crawford on. And I'm telling you guys, we'll find out on September 13th, but don't be shocked at all if Terrence Crawford isn't the quote-unquote weaker guy in the ring with Canelo Alvarez on that night, right? I mean, he could be weaker to a degree, but how much weaker, right? And this is important, because if his strength and his power in an honest way translates into this fight with Canelo Alvarez, and I don't want to say translate to 168. 168 is where they're fighting at, I understand. But I just mean in this fight between Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, if Terrence's strength, power, if these intangibles that everybody believes Canelo Alvarez has over Terrence Crawford end up not being so much leverage as you thought they were, then can Canelo Alvarez beat Terrence Crawford in the other ways that he may have to beat him if that power isn't the issue? Right? And that's just an honest question. Just to be real, just the fact that Terrence Crawford has shown that that's not necessarily what it is, that things aren't what they look like always, and your understanding of weight classes and these fighters and their ability to compete at weight classes based off of power and things of that nature may be misguided a little bit and may be changed at the end of this fight. And that's why I also say that this fight on September 13th will be an era-defining fight. It won't define the era Terrence Crawford is leaving as much as the era that he may be opening the door to in boxing. A lot of people's mentalities can be subject to change in a big way when it comes to how they look at fights like this. This could change the whole entire landscape on how we look at how I would look, let's say, at a Teofimo Lopez going up to 154 to fight a Jaron Boots Ennis or fight a Virgil Ortiz. It could change, because now we have to open our minds up to the possibility of boxing acumen, aptitude, the pedigree of these fighters playing the biggest role, and a bigger role than we ever thought we were. We might be putting way too much weight on the back of this size difference, this big, Canelo being the bigger fighter. They stand in front of each other. You don't see it. Where's the big size difference? Granted, Canelo is nice and acclimated to 168, whereas Terrence Crawford 100% is not acclimated to 168. But once again, these things can be taken into consideration. We're going to have to find out on September 13th. Shout out to my brother Ant McQueen in the building. Good to see you in the building. I like that picture you got there. What are you, flipping through the records or something? Ant McQueen, old school, got that Mos Def old school backpack hip hop. You know what I'm saying? That Talib Kweli energy. Salute to Ant McQueen, man, a scholar among scholars in this boxing space. Says he was active a few times versus Munguia on the inside. One engagement yielding him, I want to say KO. Beautiful right uppercut, left hook, short and quick. Yeah, with Jaime Munguia, once again, fighters who are going to stay up in there and trade with Canelo Alvarez, which I think this is why Canelo Alvarez went up in weight as well. I think people... he did challenge himself going up in weight, but listen, man, he brought a lot of challenges to the division, and he brought a lot of his own leverage, being that I think, understood that the fighters that were in that division weren't going to be able to compete with him in an athletic way, and that his conditioning and his athletic ability with that power he brought to the division actually gave him an edge over a lot of the fighters he fought against. And like I told you guys, he didn't have to fight the way he did at 154 or 147 when he got up to 168, or at 160. He didn't have to compete with those guys in that same arena. It was a different competition and something that made it a lot easier for him. Terrence Crawford may be a blast from the past for Canelo Alvarez, and he's been so far gone from that past. The question is, can he bring back? Does he still have those wrinkles to his game? Is that still part of who he really is, or will he be a fish out of water when he gets in the ring with Terrence Crawford? Will he find out that, man, it's harder to swim than I remember doing? Treading water is difficult. I didn't have to I haven't treaded water in 5 to 7 years. I haven't treaded water. This is becoming challenging for me. I'm getting cramps in my stomach, cramps in my leg. The condition's not where it used to be. And damn it, this guy may punch a little harder than people thought he did. You never know. You never know. Knockdown. Okay. A knockdown for Jaime Munguia. Yeah, and exactly, right. He didn't stop Jaime Munguia. Thank you. Respect 90210 been on point with me today, man. Keep me together. Get me together. Help me read through these text messages. Let's see here. Benny Bonkin says, go watch Canelo head movement against Cotto and Bivol 25 pounds between weight classes. Okay. So what are you saying, Benny? Hold on. Let me see. If Bud can do all this to Canelo, he could do it to Bivol and all them other huge fighters. Bud is taller and has longer arm reach. Maybe. Let's go. Robin Crown says, I believe Boots is ranked number 2 in the WBA. He may just end up meeting Charlo. Listen, man, Boots is in great position. And I've been telling you guys this from the beginning with this fight with Lima, and understanding that positioning is chess, not checkers at this point in Boots' career. Boots has enough data. Eddie Hearn has enough data, and they have understanding about the things that have potentially gotten in the way of Jaron Boots Ennis being the big superstar that people feel like he should be. And they're taking all these things in consideration. Eddie Hearn is attacking the chessboard with a certain strategy right now. He really is. if you pay attention to the moves and where Jaron Boots is in these sanctioning bodies and how he's moving him, even with the timing of this fight and making sure that this fight happens at a certain time, that, end of September, early October, this is all positioning. This is all has importance. Why he couldn't wait 1 month later, or didn't even want to wait or risk waiting 1 month later for Virgil Ortiz, who wasn't cleared yet to fight, right? Who was still waiting on, a diagnosis or whatever, or go ahead on his hand surgery to make sure he was healed up properly. He wanted to be in position for a particular reason. And Boots is in great position. And definitely what you're saying is very real as far as that WBA sanctioning body position that he's in. He could be in line to fight a Jermell Charlo, right? He could be in line. He could be in line to fight a Terrence Crawford if Terrence Crawford decides to return to 154 in the back end of this Canelo fight. If that's what Terrence Crawford truly ends up trying to do, and let's say he wants to become undisputed, a three-weight class undisputed champion still, and he's not able to do it at 168. If he chooses to bring it back to 154 because Turkey makes it make sense for him, then boom, right there, Jaron Ennis is in that conversation as well, right? Definitely in that conversation. Salute Dragonfly Jones in the building, says salute Rayman, salute to you, family, salute. But obviously more comfortable in the pocket than Canelo. It's a wrap. If Bud is able to manage that inside game on Canelo, bad. I'm telling you. If he's able to stay in there, take Canelo's punches, smother him, smother that offense, take away this strength advantage that everybody thinks Canelo has, this fight gets real interesting. Does he knock Canelo out? I'm not going in that way. But I'm saying by round 2 or 3, I think people are going to open their eyes and be like, damn, we got to fight. That's what I'm expecting. Like, damn, we got to fight. Oh, damn. I thought it was like that moment when Errol Spence tangled up with Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford just shrugged him off, just put his forearm in there, kind of grappled, locked him up with him a little bit, and just kind of threw him to the side like it wasn't nothing. And I think 7 out of 10 people who were watching that fight, eyes popped out their head and said, oh, damn. Oh, damn. I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought that was going to look different. And from that moment on, most people understood that this is the trajectory Errol was going in that fight, right? So if Terrence Crawford is able to manage that inside game and able to stay inside there with Canelo Alvarez and match Canelo Alvarez's strength, no less be stronger than Canelo Alvarez, this fight gets very interesting very quickly. It switches up. And there's understanding. You know what I mean? Respect says, yo, Clay, should I put a ban on Bud? Like I put 1,800 on Benavidez for the Morrell fight? Man, that gambling thing, man, do what you feel like doing. I'm not going to tell you what to do, man. But I'll tell you this. Broad Crawford is undefeated. He's always done what he said he's going to do. I think he's always given realistic and truthful assessments of the fighters that are in front of him. I don't think he's ever sold us any snake oil. He's not into the antics. I take Terrence Crawford's word and I give him that respect to say, if he said it, I want to see if he can do it. I don't think it's a bad bet at all. But if you lose, don't come looking for me. Sorry. In advance. Here for boxing in the building. Salute to my guy here for boxing. Says, why Jermell only said Bud name when the coast is clear? I think Jermell is back letting it be known that there's nobody. People are going to ask him questions, which I'm sure he's getting himself ready to deal with. The moment he decides to become truly active in the media space, people are going to be asking him. So before they even ask him, he's just letting it be known anybody and everybody can get it. Your favorite fighter, if he can get down here at 154, if he's holding a belt, if he's somebody who could potentially be in my way, that guy can get it. I'm ready for all of them. I'm the best version of me. And so any name you bring up to me is going to get the same answer. And I think that's what it's mainly about. I don't think he's calling Terrence out. I think he's more so confirming to the boxing space that Terrence Crawford, if he decides to be on the menu, he's definitely, we definitely can metabolize Terrence Crawford. Pause if it's needed, right? We got a system. We got a stomach that can deal with that. You know what I mean? Bones and everything. Pause. You know what I mean? Let's see. Respect 90210 says, Bud chilling in that Madrigal fight. God, these people think Canelo going to mess Bud up. Yeah, and I think that Madrigal fight, man, guys, man, I just watch boxing differently, and than some people. And I'm just a little bit more honest. I try to be as honest as possible. I give all respects to Madrimov. I think he's a great fighter. I think if the Madrimov that fought Terrence Crawford jumped in the ring with Virgil Ortiz Jr., I think that fight could have very well went a different way. I think there's an argument to say that a fight would have gone a different way. Result-wise, I'm not too sure. I think Madrimov would have just competed at a higher level, and it would have been a way harder fight for Virgil Ortiz. I feel like the conditioning played a big role in that fight. So that being said, I think people just aren't giving Madrimov the respect to say that this guy's really a good fighter. And the way he approached fighting Terrence Crawford really threw Terrence off. You could really see it. I watched the fight, and from the moment inside those first 2 to 3 rounds, you could see Terrence Crawford adjusting to this fighter that he thought was going to approach that fight differently. And he had to adjust. But I also believe watching him adjust and ultimately taking that fight over in the championship rounds in the later half of that fight showed that he can adjust and where he's at cerebrally. So in my opinion, I gave points to Terrence Crawford in that fight, in that Madrimov fight, where a lot of people feel like he looked weak and looked vulnerable and looked like the weight differential was going to be a big factor. And they used that fight as a measuring tool as to what he can do with Canelo Alvarez at 168. I think that fight made him better. I think it woke him up. I think he slipped for a moment in time, and he read a fighter wrong, and he read the fighter wrong going into his training camp. And I think reading the fighter wrong going into the training camp and preparing the way he did off of that false data, off of that miscalculation, made that fight way more competitive than it probably would have been if he would have taken into consideration what Madrimov could do. That being said, that bud that came out on the other side of that fight with Madrimov is a smarter bud, a smarter Bomac because of that fight. And I believe on a psychological level, when we're talking about mental sturdiness, right? When we're talking about that aspect of the game, Terrence Crawford benefits way more than what people think he did on the back end of that Madrimov fight. And I think that translates into an even more dangerous fighter in a ring with a Canelo Alvarez. That's how I look at it, right? That's how I look at it. Other people don't. They feel like, hey, man, he should have looked a certain way. The domination should have been there. Madrimov only had 10 professional fights. I've heard it all, right? Was a cherry pick gone wrong? All the different arguments that I've heard, right? I just watch boxing in a different way. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a big Bud supporter. I support Bud, and I say that because I'm not into the fan talk anymore. I've seen these fans in this space blow away. If you're a fan, that's like walking around with a rainbow flag right now. Like, yeah, the rainbow flag, you could be into colors, but the rainbow flag has become a representation of a certain community. And if you're wearing a rainbow flag, people are going to judge you accordingly. Whether you are or not part of that group, the rainbow flag has been hijacked, and it is part of that group's whole entire description. And I believe fans in boxing have jacked the word fans to where my definition of a fan would make me proud to say I'm a fan of a certain fighter, but I have to revisit and revisit the words I choose to describe myself. And yeah, I'm no longer a fan in boxing. I'm a supporter of boxing because you guys are diabolical. You guys done took that whole damn word and turned it into something nasty and icky. Real nasty and icky, right? It is what it is. It is what it is. Hold on, bear with me. I got messages coming in from everywhere. So that's where I'm at with it, man. Ant McQueen says he has a beautiful jab, strong right hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open the panel up, and to be honest with you, because I'm really interested in what you guys are thinking out there. I didn't really set up a show. I've been so busy past couple of days dealing with some things here, and I just haven't. I've been following, but normally I build a nice little structured approach to what I'm going to do in the show, but it's also my last day. It's kind of like my Sunday. Tomorrow I go back to work. So that part, right? That part. But yeah, man, this Terrence fight is going to be a very interesting fight. Floyd Schofield, rehydration clause. Also interested in what you guys think about that. Am I reaching with that situation? Am I truly reaching with that whole entire situation? Or is anybody seeing it the way I see it as far as Floyd Schofield and this rehydration clause? I'm just, I think it's weird that, a couple months ago, I was watching this man get butt naked to make weight against Tevin Farmer. And I was watching his father rant on social media on platforms being interviewed and talking about the WBC and their rehydration clause guidelines and their weight cut guidelines and how he was protecting the health of his child. And all of a sudden he puts himself into a situation with a sanctioning body, an IBF sanctioning body, who puts who has one of the biggest rehydration clauses in the game. Right? Just kind of weird to me, man. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Salute to everybody in the building right now, man.
Yo. What's up, brother?
You for boxing. Doing good, family. How you, King?
Chilling, man. Sitting in the gym parking lot staring at the door.
Trying to convince yourself to go in?
He said sitting in the gym parking lot staring at the door.
Listen, he's having a pep talk. Our guy's having a pep talk out there right now to himself about getting himself together.
I'm sitting here doing my taxes and all type of stuff. Just trying to, yeah, man.
Watching people go in and out of the gym and just
everything but going there.
Visiting life and all the decisions I've made and where I am.
Because he know what he gonna feel like, Clay, after he come out.
No, I think what he feels like after he comes out, that's always a good feeling. You know what I mean? Maybe the next day it could be a little bit like, damn, yesterday I might have went a little too hard. But normally right after I come out of the gym, I'm feeling, I'm just lit. I'm great. Everything is shooting. You know what I mean?
You know, Clay, that's when I'm locked in and I've been on my routine. This is my first day back for a couple months. I've been dragging my feet over the days.
You're with Shelton.
And I'm going to break in with a light cardio day.
Cardio.
So and I don't never feel good, Clay, until I get home and get out that shower. That's when I feel good.
Oh yeah. You might be right. You know, when I come out the gym, I think mentally I feel good. I'm proud of myself, right? Like once I put that work in, I'm walking to my car with my chest out a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
It's when you feel the sleeves hugging your bicep.
I
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Hey, but both of y'all talk about that ride home though.
Oh yeah, that ride home is great for me, man. I'm good. I'm
that
ready
ride
to get
home, and you got to get out that car. Like, shit, I got to get out.
You be looking at yourself in the mirror like LL Cool J in the 90s.
Yeah.
Looking at your muscles and shit. Yeah, man. So, what we gonna kick off with? Because I got some issues with Jamel Charlo, man. I hate the way he moves.
Man, bro. Jamel, look, fellas, look. Everybody know Jamel got bitch in his blood. Come on now.
Oh, damn.
You up there?
Salute, Bradley.
Lay down, bro. I can't let that go. I'm never gonna let that go. You went up there and laid down like a broad, man. I can't get over that.
Man.
Well, that's just for me. That's just one of the.
You should at least fight the dude. You should at least fight the dude. You didn't even fight the dude, bro.
Yeah, I think mentality-wise, there's some redemption needed there for him in these fights coming. Hold on 1 second. Respect 954. Do me a favor. Put your camera on. Let me make sure you're a real person before I let you up here, man. It's a blacked out screen and we're in a crazy, diabolical world. By the way, rest in peace to those two kids who passed away in that school shooting yesterday.
Yeah, that was terrible.
And yeah, bro, we got to do better, man. Humanity, bro. I don't know how anybody can take time to even put a child's life in danger, bro. That is diabolical, bro. That is diabolical.
I always confront myself with the scenario as a dad, right? And as a legal carrier, I always envision the moment, like if somebody comes up there and tries something while I'm standing there. And I've always put myself in that scenario, like you know my history, you know what I mean. So I've always had that mentality, that militant mindset, so to speak. And I try to put myself in scenarios before they happen to try to have an idea of how I would handle it once that scenario came about. And fortunate enough that most of those things never came true. A few have, and luckily that the mental planning that I've done.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff is mental, and so I implore you guys to mentally put yourself in these positions when you hear these things on the news and you see these things in the media. So put yourself in position and wonder what you would do when you walk into a supermarket or you in a bar or whatever. Know where the closest exit is. Know where you can duck down. Know where you can move if something pop off. Just don't be in there all aloof, like thinking nothing can happen. Right. I would always implore you guys to be militant, to be vigilant, you know what I mean? To know where you are and understand, like find exits, know where the exits are, look at people's waist, see who's got a gun on them, and know that, okay, this is a guy with a gun, this is a guy with a gun, this is a guy with a gun. Okay, I know these three guys got a gun. I don't know how many others have one, but I know these three do. Right. And just keep that mindset. I'm not saying look for trouble, but just be ready for it, should it so happen.
I got you, Respect 954. I saw the messages. Okay, it's Respect 90210. Yeah, because I saw 954, and in my mind, I'm like, all right, I know 90210, but 954 now? Is that, I remember one time somebody had a whole entire crazy situation. Ever since then, I've been kind of scarred. I don't allow Get anybody up here, man. Bruce. I guess he had a doubt. Bruce Gas Boxing says passed away. They were murdered. 100%, man. But look, man. Yeah, 100%. You didn't like it. You want me to say the word? I didn't want to say the word, man. I was trying to be respectful. Huh?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. What do you want me to do?
Oh, I got this crazy static on my end. I don't know if it's one of you guys or if it's me. I don't know what it is.
No, it's you. You definitely got a lot of static going on right now.
Let me tell you about. I hit you later. I've been doing this every time I get on stream, y'all.
All right, and you came back in clear. You want to come back in, or?
I did that the other day, and it kept doing it, and I'm just like, it's a little frustrating. Let me I'm gonna keep listening, and I'm gonna go in the gym, get this work done, and if you guys still live, I'll tap back in, but I'll keep listening.
No doubt, family. Salute, family. You can go back to your thumbnail if you want to. I know you're at work. You ain't got to, man. You can go back to your avatar, whatever. Respect 954. I mean, if you want to stay on, you can do that too. But I mean, you ain't got to, is what I'm saying. I just need to confirm you were a person. You know what I mean? All right. Go ahead. Take your time. Yeah, man. So Shelton, I mean, so I agree with you on this Jermell Charlo conversation, right? Without a doubt, we have to acknowledge the last impression Jermell Charlo put in on boxing fans was an impression of somebody who came in, took a bag of money, and ran away. And he never returned back to the sport. It's been about 2 years, right? Give or take. It's been 2 years, and he hasn't been back. So, I think he is subject to all types of scrutiny at this point. It's all fair. At the end of the day, this is what you showed us. We ain't seen you back since. You allowed all the sanctioning bodies to strip you of all your titles. What are we looking at here? The last impression I had of Jermell Charlo is that he became a fighter who was a super prize fighter who didn't care nothing about legacy. And in my opinion, once we get into that conversation, maybe not that much about boxing. Where were you at mentally after you saw it? Well, let me ask you this, Shelton, if you don't mind sharing with us, where was your mentality on Jermell Charlo before the Canelo Alvarez fight? You there, Shelton? Well, Shelton might have had to back away. Okay, when he returns.
I'm back. I was brushing the choppers. Before the fight, I thought Mel was a dog. I mean, Mel had never showed me nothing but heart, courage, willing to get in there and slang him with anybody. Don't back down for nobody. And then you went in there and you got hit with a body shot in like the second or third round, and you turned into a girl, man. I mean, look, it's just the way I was raised, bro. I was always taught this. You don't have to win, but you do have to fight.
Yeah, I agree. So let me ask you.
He didn't fight. He didn't fight, bro. He cowered down, and I can't respect that.
Right. And knowing that he was going into that fight, was this going to be a competitive fight in your mind? And you know what I'm saying? Like,
I thought he was going to compete. Yes, I thought at least be competitive until I thought we'd be competitive all the way throughout. I never thought I would see the day where Jermell Charlo would quit. And I watched that man quit in real time. Yeah, and nobody can tell me different. He quit.
And it also threw me how proud he was of himself. At the end of the fight, it kind of disgusted me a little bit on how proud he was. I mean, shoot, man.
I didn't get knocked out. I mean, what kind of?
I was like, what?
What kind of? I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm just gonna speak my mind. What kind of homoerotic shit is that? I didn't get knocked out.
Yeah, I didn't know what kind of cheering he expected.
I mean, you a whole bitch out here, bro. You's a whole coward, and I don't have no respect for you.
Right. It was an interesting experience watching that, and I think for me.
And I just rewatched that fight yesterday too. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying I just rewatched that fight yesterday too. So for y'all to be talking about the post fight when he's like, yeah, well, I didn't get knocked out, whatever. It definitely was comedy because it's like, dog, I actually expect him to go in there and at least put on some type of performance just to show like that dog side of him. And even if he didn't win, it still would have gave us that luster to want to see the him and Bud fight because of during the fight with Bud and Spence, the way Bud was going to the ropes, kept looking at him, it would have still created that anticipation. Now I don't really have that anticipation to really fight him no more. And it's to bring up something my boy brought up to me. are the Charlos really, really tough deep down, or are they just that persona when they know they can be like that with the person? You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like,
And
for instance,
let me add some context and add to what you're saying, right? Because I agree with you. At the end of that fight, it made you question what drove them. Because it used to be, oh, these guys were built like this, that grit was there. But now that you know what they started to look like to me at the end of that fight, I said, man, have we just been looking at an angry, spoiled child this whole time? Has that anger that we saw, is that you know that angry child, but he ain't like that necessarily, but he's just angry. He's always putting on a front. His face is always tied up and he's always getting into it at school. But finally one day when that one dude just stands up to him and whoops his ass, you find out like, damn, I thought you was this whole time, I thought you was a little dangerous little, I thought you was a little nightmare, bro. You just been putting us, so it just made me, to me, first thing came to my mind, 954 was facade. Have we fell for the okey doke? Are these guys really not built that way? Are they really trying to cover up insecurities in them and they're really not built like that? Or is this like, what am I watching here? Because not only did you not compete in the fight and you ran around the ring and did that, but you were proud of the survival. You were proud of it. Oh man, at least I ain't getting knocked out. And then you disappeared from the game and you didn't you didn't confront the media. You didn't confront the elephant in the room and speak to the fight and defend your title against a Tim Tszyu, or you allowed each sanctioning body one by one to take away your title and you went away. And 2 years later now, you're saying you're going to return. You're jumping back into title contention. But I also want to speak a little bit about
even leading up to it, though, Clay, he wasn't.
Well, yeah, you're right. In the press conference, he got real humble. The psychology, the psychology was off, man. The psychology was completely off. The whole entire experience of the fight being announced and the press conferences and all those things was a very interesting. It had an interesting look all the way into the finale. Salute, Ray Davis. What's good with you, family?
What up? What up? I got the guy outside my window putting we call it around it. I forgot what it's called. Don't know why. Anyway,
I'm sorry, Ray. I was gonna say it damn near comes off as if he just went in there to take a beating. Like, damn, since my brother couldn't get the fight, and granted, I know they were beefing at the time, but it damn near comes off like, damn, since my brother couldn't take the fight, I'll just go in there to take it for him. And he just went and took a beating for his brother. That damn near how it comes off.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors behind that. My thoughts on that whole situation with Jamel, and Canelo was, I think Canelo let the people get into his head. I think most importantly, we know that Jamel was a 200-pound, 210-pound guy, walk-around fighter, including his brother, maybe slightly bigger. And them always talking about the size don't matter and how, him fighting at 154 was nothing. And him moving up, it's just a little bit less weight for him to lose. So he should be able to make the weight easy. He was training. The guy was brolic, just like everybody was saying. And he went in there and felt the power difference from a 154 to a 168. And once he felt that power, reality sunk in. And I think even on the back end of that, you even had Crawford said, look, man, sometimes you get into these fights and you know what you got to take. And I think in so many words or less, he was like, he chickened out, basically. You know what I mean? Like, he should have still kept fighting because you never know what happens when you're in a fight. A fight's a fight for a reason. And Jamel basically put on his backpedaling shoes and didn't want to taste no more of that power. He just wanted to survive. And I think him wanting to survive changed the landscape of what people thought about him. And then you go from that to the situation with the and I don't want to talk about his private situation with the wife and the friend or whatever the case may be. That got a little awkward, and that kept him out the game even longer. The feud with his brother, that's another situation we got to look into. Was he really into training, or do we blame, and Clay, you would love to hear this, do we blame Derrick James? Derrick James went on a tantrum of a game.
Why would I love to hear that?
He went on a tantrum of a 3-game losing streak, right? He lost with Earl, he lost with Frank, and then he lost with homie Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
I'm going with Ryan.
Jamel. So all three
Hey
of those
Ray,
guys.
just to add on what you said, to cut you off, even with Alicia, she didn't look too good in her last outing with Derrick James. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Well, I mean, listen, we're going to talk about all that. There's layers to this conversation. So I
Yeah.
see Ray kind of segueing. Trust me, all this is going to get brought up because these are all the things to take into consideration.
And he lost with Ryan Garcia. With
Listen,
we're gonna get there. I'm just trying to set it up. I'm just setting it up.
Man.
But I'm just saying,
hey man, Derrick James look a little bad right now.
yeah. But hey, are we blaming Derrick James or are we blaming the fighters that just were
Hey, hold on 1 second. One second, Ray.
Rich,
1
hold
second.
on.
Don't do that. Don't blame that on Derrick James. Derrick James is not the reason that nigga quit. That nigga quit.
It's not that he's the reason, but we got to talk about the elephants in the room. That's what we're doing right now. It's not blaming.
Right.
It's acknowledging all of these moving parts that were involved with the Jermell Charlo experience. We got to allow the story to develop and allow the plot to kick in so that we can really dissect and have a real honest conversation about what we're anticipating on the return of Jermell. I know it's kind of crazy. I saw somebody in the chat, people are reacting to the points getting hit, and they're just speaking to the points. They don't understand. Welcome to the show where we build the plot, where it gets thick, where we add all the layers, and we have an honest conversation as a panel as far as at the end of it, what it's going to be. It's going to be taking all of that into consideration. Where are we on this topic? That's what's going to end up happening. So the aircraft carrier says, he says, I'm not ready to throw Jermell out. We're not throwing Jermell out. Jermell, even if no matter what we think about Jermell at 168, I could never think about Jermell at 168 what I think about him at 154. Because at 154, Jermell was the undisputed champion. I didn't see nobody beating him at 154. Tim Tszyu probably been his most competitive fight when he was there. The landscape has changed, so we'll talk about all those things, but allow the story to get some legs. Allow this to thicken up. I'm going to pass it back to Ray and allow him to go ahead and don't take every little thing and feel like attacking it all. Right. It gets better later. Go ahead, Ray.
Right. So as I was saying, with the whole situation of that going in a spiral, right? We have to keep that in mind. Not to mention that Tim Tszyu was the mind thought of Jermell Charlo. He lost his belt recently before he even stepped in the ring. He had lost that belt. Then he took another title when he stepped in the ring. You know what I mean? So he was definitely on the brinks of just being upset and going through a whole bunch of turmoil. Probably thoughts like crazy. I just froze up. All right. Yeah. Okay, never mind then. But yeah, like a whole bunch of turmoil. This guy's like freaking banging on my window. So if you hear noise, ignore it. But yeah. So they the whole gist of what I was getting back to is that Jermell was going through trials and tribulations, I believe, at the same time he took this fight. I think it was just, that he did a PBC a favor by taking this fight because his brother wasn't ready. They wanted to set up the fight with Earl after. Earl just lost to Bud, so that fight wasn't happening. So the best thing to do was find a fighter for Canelo because he had a 3-fight deal, and they had to set that fight. They had to get him going some way, shape, or form. And Jermell just coming off that big victory that he had his last fight with Castillo, to unify all the titles and have the matchup that he did. It was a great time for him to step up and do something special. And they thought and believed that he was. And like I said, I think he bought into the psyche of the fans, telling him that he's the man to do it. He's going to set him off. He's going to be 2-time undisputed, and all those things happening created the mindset of him being invincible. And then when reality sunk in, here we go. And this is what we have now. The year layoff, 2-year layoff, whatever the case may be. He may need that time. You know what I mean? We don't know what it is. It could be other issues, but we'll wait to see what that comes in future tense.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Salute to Rich in the building. How you doing, Rich?
Oh, what's up?
Doing good, family. Good to see you back in the building, man. Hope you're in good spirits, in a good place mentally, man. What's on your mind?
No, I'm just listening to y'all right now. Y'all talking about the Jermell Charlo return against Earl Spence.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting there, and we are talking about it, but really, I think we're more so assessing and getting everybody's feelings on the last time we saw Jermell Charlo and how you walked away feeling about Jermell Charlo. Okay. I mean, if you don't mind speaking on as well, feel free to speak on as well what you thought of Jermell before the Canelo fight. Going into that fight, when the fight was announced, what was your mentality at? You know, I mean, he was going up from 154 to 168. Was this going to be a competitive fight? Did you give him a chance? And then get into, you know, how you felt about the actual fight itself.
All right, I don't know if I'm gonna hit on everything, but
Okay.
before the fight, I was more thinking like, damn, Terrence Crawford gonna beat Errol Spence. This before. I was like, damn, Terrence Crawford gonna beat Errol Spence. I was thinking, damn, Jermell Charlo might go up to 168, lose to Canelo, which happened. I thought he was gonna keep the belts though. That's what I thought. I think he ended up losing the belts after, like, they ended up making him lose the belts during that fight, like in the process of the fight. So I was like, this, damn, Terrence Crawford, because you know Terrence Crawford was chasing that three-time,
Undisputed.
yeah, that's what he was doing. So I was like, damn, maybe Terrence Crawford gonna beat him at 154. But before how I think of Jermell Charlo, I think he a good fighter. He was taking over 154. I really think, to me, a lot of people, I think that he could beat what's the guy named Tim Tszyu. I think he could beat him. I always thought he could beat him, but from what it looked like to me, man, I really thought he ran to fight Canelo. I might sound crazy, but that's why I thought. I thought he really ran from Tim Tszyu to fight Canelo, because I think that was his mandatory at the time, or whatever. Or was it?
It was. You're right.
I'm lying.
It was.
So yeah. I thought that was his mandatory at the time, and I really thought he ran from him. But you know, he went up there, got the money, and he fought scared. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I look at him right now. I look at him. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think that he could make it back down to 154. That's what they saying. He could campaign in that.
He said, listen.
Y'all gotta realize he been that weight class the same way as Errol Spence been 147. Like, these guys can't be just making the same weight their whole career, man. You get what I'm saying? So
I mean, all those things got to be taken into consideration. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, there's going to be a transition period, right? Like, this guy's been outside the ring for 2 years. Ring rust. I know some people don't believe in it, but I think that's part of the game. I think, you know, activity is the best friend of a boxer, and, you know, on the reverse side, inactivity is a fighter's worst nightmare. You know what I mean? Because they come into the ring almost every single time as a different fighter. You know what I mean? Like, every time. And that's one of the things when I talk about the PBC, and I know people that hate it. They feel like I'm tearing down a PBC. It's not that I'm tearing down a PBC, but I can speak to the elephant in the room, and I can say that the way they're delivering fights for their fighters, it hurts their activity. And that, you know, when you look at Caleb Plant, for example, I'll give you that example, and just say Caleb Plant, when he was with Showtime, he was on the verge of being, you know, he was considered one of the best 168 pounders behind David Benavidez, who had left went to become a light heavyweight. He was pretty much it. They were expecting him to run back into Canelo at some point. Then he comes back, fights against Trevor McCumbee, gets dropped on his pockets once, maybe twice, if you want to consider one of the knockdowns that wasn't counted. And then he went against Armando Resendez, and you know what I mean? It went a complete different way. So
my bad though. I think Caleb Plant. I don't know what's up with him, but I think that guy Armando Resendez, he had his number, because, you know, y'all already know this story. He sparred him for the Canelo fight. You know what I'm saying? He probably already knew what was up with him. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know if Caleb Plant fell off. I don't know. I know he got to get that back and go in there with a different game plan to beat him. But as far as we going back to Jermell Charlo, I just, like I said, he been at 154. You don't think they can fight at 160 if he do fight again?
I mean, he has choices, right? But he's going to go back into the division, because we can segue into it too as well, because at the end of the day, what was the reasoning? And I mean, Ray can give his opinion on this. Shelton can give his opinion on this. I'm definitely interested in the perspective of what held Jermell Charlo out of the ring for 2 years. I mean, what was the reason?
that money, that drinking, you know, his mental, his mind state. You gotta understand, it's only a few boxers that's like, that take this shit like serious. Like a lot of people be like 7%, you know what I'm saying, taking this serious at 30% outside the ring. Some people take it 90%, 95, 100% serious. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like a lot of these guys, you know, once they start touching a certain type of money, they start moving funny. You know what I'm saying? They start. Just look at them. Just look how they move. You know what I'm saying? Him, his brother, even Earl Spence. They all move funny. I feel like they could be way better than what they is if they didn't move funny. You know what I'm saying? Even though Jamal Charlo, he ain't got no 0 on his record at all. But I just don't understand why he's not. I don't understand why both of them be out the ring that long. I don't know what be going on with them and what's like what they be thinking, what's going in their minds. Like once they get a payday, they just, you know what I'm saying, go somewhere else.
I mean,
That's
something held him outside the ring without a doubt, and I think that's part of the conversation as well, because I think that has a lot to do with why we're seeing him back in the ring potentially, right? Speculating in that way. But Shelton, where are you at as far as the reasoning? First of all, why, in your opinion, when you haven't seen Jermell Charlo in 2 years, what do you what are you blaming that on? What do you think that's all about? What's going on with that? You're muted. You there, Shelton? No, he's probably not there. Ray, where you at with it?
Go ahead, repeat the question. I was actually
I'm just saying.
Go ahead.
I'm saying that Jermell Charlo being gone for 2 years.
Oh, okay. What I think about that? I mean, it's listen. Floyd was out for a year and a half. Came back, still won the championship. Things can happen, man. I don't think you forget how to box. I think, you know what I mean, these guys are always in the gym. They're always working on stuff. You know what I mean? That's their passion. That's what they do for a career. Whether they're active or not, I mean, they're always training. That's one thing. The other thing is the competition. The levels have changed since he's been going. That's the most important thing to realize. Is he up to par? Fedora has grown some legs. You know what I mean? Not the fact that he's not tall already, but you know what I mean? He grew a little bit in the division where he is now forced to be reckoned. You got new champions all over the board, young guys in. Is he going to be able to compete at the same level he was at 154? It is now, you know what I mean? It was already a firestorm to deal with before, but now it's a beehive, as you like to say. You know what I mean? It's a whole bunch of hornet's nest, to correct myself, right? So it's gotten a little bit more dangerous, a little bit more popular. Is he able to compete? Yeah, absolutely. He has to. I think.
Wait. Not to say valid what you're saying, but I just want you to stay on point where we're at.
Right?
I want to know, what was this hiatus about, in your opinion? What is the hiatus?
Oh, the hiatus. Oh, I think it was money.
Right.
I flat out say I think it was money. I think the issue was him having a ton of money to spend, dealing with some legal issues on the outside, right? And on top of that, the other end of it was not being able to get him a fight because of the money he deserves, the money he earns. And I think when you have situations like that where you get to a certain level of bank, it's hard to facilitate that to a guy that they don't feel that's worth the value that he commences. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I think that is the biggest deal, though. Thank you for correcting me.
A quick one thing though.
What up, Rich?
It's another thing too, right? I really think this is what I truly think. The fights, like what Ray Day a little bit said, I think it's the fights too, the matchmaking. I really think that he had in his mind, this is what I really think he did. He had in his mind to fight Canelo and go back and make a big payday fighting Bud. That's what he had in his mind. But Bud was like, oh, nigga, you ain't even got no belts. You ain't got nothing going on. You know what I'm saying? So I really think it's somewhat of that too, the matchmaking, who to fight, who and you know his promotional company, you know what I'm saying? Like what's gonna be a good beneficial fight for him to make money. He probably had a few offers these last years, but he probably was like, it ain't even worth it, man. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, Rich and Ray, right? I 100% agree with it. And I think that we can speculate in 100 different directions, but I think one thing that we're all going to come back to when it's all said and done is prize fighting is what kept him out of.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
And at the end of the day, that being said, you know, you have to ask yourself a question, because you mentioned him coming back to 154 and how you felt like he's been there for a real long time, and him coming from 168, you know, you'd figure, you know, maybe he should be more realistic for him to come back at 160. So why doesn't he come back to 160? Because the money's not there. The money's not at 160. The money's at 154. It's against those big fights. It's against Terrence Crawford if he returns to 160. It's against Jerron Boots Ennis. It's against Virgil Ortiz. It's against all those names that he posted on his social media that he'd be interested in fighting. It's in 154, the Hornets Nest division that now an investor like Turkey Al-Sheikh has found interest in and is getting behind some of the biggest fights that could be made there. So listen, the prize fighting part of the game has arguably called Jermell Charlo back into the boxing space. You know, we'll speculate in that area because the reality is, and this is for the playback gang and the people in the chat and the people who want to say that we're sitting out here giving information and we're speculating. Clearly, we are all speculating because nobody has the actual information. So get off your high horse and shut up and enjoy the show, right? The reality is, if prize fighting is the name of the game. If prize fighting is the name of the game, if that's what it is, and Jermell Charlo's returning, it's fair to say that the prize is sweetened up enough for him to be like, yeah, I'm gonna put my hat back in the ring. That's cool. That's what's up. Let's segue into what it looks like at 154 right now, because 154 is, like my brother Ray Davis was speaking, is a complete different space than it was when Jermell was there, right? When Jermell was there, big fights was against Brian Castano and, you know what I'm saying, and Julian Williams and, Tim Tszyu was a big fight for him when he left. That was going to be his most competitive fight. I think the landscape has changed quite dramatically since Tim Tszyu was the guy who was running 154. Now with the likes of a new and upcoming young blood like Xander Zayas, when you're looking at Virgil Ortiz, who's showing his teeth at 154, when you're looking at Jerron Ennis, who just entered 154, when you're looking at Terrence Crawford, who may very well return to 154 when it's all said and done, who knows, right? And when you look at Sebastian Fundora, of course, and all those fighters, it's a different landscape. Jermell Charlo represents, dare I say, an older fighter in this division, or does he represent, or is he in his prime still? What does he represent to you guys in this division? Is he in the same conversation of, let's say, a Keith Thurman? You know what I'm saying? As far as return, or is he still the best 154 pounder in the world?
This what I think of it, right? As far as the 154 pounders, while you was just talking, I was just thinking, like, we really don't know where like who's really elite at 154. Like we know they good. We know they good, but it's not no one that we could say right now that can just take over the division. You know what I'm saying? So I'd like to see him go back down there, you know what I'm saying, to see what he could do, but I don't know, because in 2 years, I never seen him out for this long, you know what I'm saying? So I really can't say that he's going to do well, but to be honest with you, I'm starting to think that everybody everybody is almost at the same level at 154. It's like no one is not better than, you know what I'm saying, than enough. It is people better, but as far as you can see skill-wise or whatever, but no one is not ultimately better than them, and that's why 154 interested. I want to see I want to see him go back down there though. I'm not gonna put him at the same place that he was in at first. I feel like if he would have stayed there, I think he would have he would have gave us a better answer of who is good at 154, because he probably would have fought what's the guy that just beat the shit out of Tim Tszyu, the other fight?
Sebastian?
Yeah, no, the other one.
Docram.
Yeah,
I forgot to say his name.
He would have fought them guys, and we probably would have really see where they was at, because we looking at this guy right now a little bit as the boogeyman of 154, as something like that. But if Jermell would have stayed there, this is all just, you know what I'm saying, what you just said, this is all just
speculation.
Yeah, if he would
we trying to figure it out.
And if he would have stayed there and probably beat the shit out of him, we probably wouldn't be putting him on a high pedestal like that. We probably wouldn't be putting a lot of these people on a high pedestal. Only reason why we doing that because they all really at the same level. So 154 interested division, especially that Boots came in, because if Boots end up taking these fights, I don't know what's going on with him, but if he end up taking these fights, and let's just say he end up doing these guys dirty, then we can really know where these people at 154. You know what I'm saying? But
no doubt, no doubt. Yo, we got 51 people in the building right now. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Super important. If you just remember to do that, I appreciate it. Hit that like button. Salute to all the super chats that so far that's been in the building. Looking forward to seeing more color in the chat. Salute to my brother Shelton Moore. And I think, Rich, you bring up a good point. You know, at the end of the day, I think one way or another, 154 is a different landscape than it was when Jermell was there. Maybe the question is it better than when he was there, or is it really just according to how you kind of describing, like, is the division really just a padded up division? Does it look that way because Jermell isn't there? I mean, I think that's a legitimate question, and I think those are questions that we look forward to getting answered if he's going to compete down there. Salute, Shelton, you back?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I had to walk the dog, so you gotta watch the dog because the dog will do some stupid shit. We'll all get sued. So,
right. Exactly.
So, the question you asked me was, what was my perception of Jermell after that fight? Why did I think he went out the way he went out? Was that your question?
Yeah. Well, my question was the hiatus. What did you blame the hiatus on? Why has he been gone for 2 years? What exactly? That was what my question was before you left. Was
he's embarrassed. He's embarrassed. He knows what he did. His mind wasn't in the right place, and I understand that even though all the stuff that Ray laid out, he was going through this, that, and the third. Well, if there was that much mental going on, I'm from a different era. So I wouldn't have took the fight. If I ain't ready, I ain't going to take it. But with the money that was on the line and this Canelo, he felt he had to go through with it. But I think I would have more respect for him if he pulled out and said, look, I ain't right. I'm not ready for this fight. I'll pull out. I have more respect for him than to go in there and do what he did. Because, see, I'm the type of person, I can't reconcile with what he did. Because I'm not a dude that's going to quit on anything. You got to beat me. I'm not quitting. You got to make me quit.
At least not early, right? Like, you can quit like maybe
never.
9, 10. No, I'm saying not you, but I'm saying it would have been a little more respectful if you'd have been through a little bit.
Right. Clay, and you know what I'm talking about, using the military like me, so you know what I'm talking about. I'm not quitting ever.
Right.
And once you quit, hey, Ray Davis, you probably play sports. You know what I mean? When you quit, I look at you different, bro.
I was in the Army, 250th Battalion.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So you know what I'm talking about, Ray. When you quit, I look at you different, bro. I look at you way different when you quit. I'd rather you get beat down, stop, knocked out, than quit. Don't quit.
Yeah, man. It's a hard habit to break, man. Quitting is one of those habits.
That shit becomes easier and easier as time goes on. Exactly.
And that's another. I'm telling you, all of this is playing into the conversation because this is definitely going to come up. You know what I'm saying? Trust me when I tell you this is getting ready to come up. But that being, I'm taking it one piece at a time, one layer, right? So we went back a little bit because we want to get your perspective on, the reasoning, what you attributed the hiatus to. Now where we actually are right now is we're looking at the landscape at 154 pounds. We're looking at Jermell Charlo, who's entering back into the landscape with plans on taking over 154. And we know that the landscape is different. Now, Rich made a good point, and he said, listen, does the landscape look like that if Jermell Charlo would have stayed at 154? In other words, this is something to take into consideration. In my mind, I kind of have an idea how I feel about it already, but still, I think it's a legitimate question to ask. Is 154 as much of a dangerous hornet's nest division, the best division in boxing, like we think it is, or really has what's been missing been Jermell Charlo, and the reality is the division has just been pumped up? It's really not that dangerous. It's not that competitive. Is Jermell Charlo the missing piece to 154? Where do you stand on that?
I don't think he's the missing piece because, in my opinion, this is just my opinion now. Nobody has to agree with me. Brian Castano wasn't that good. And he gave you everything you asked for. So I don't know where people got this super high picture of Jermell Charlo in their mind. Now, he did clean the division out. He did win all the belts one by one. You cannot take that from that man. He did do that. But he did that 6-7 years ago. This is a different time. You got Bakram. You got Ramos. You got Boychuk. You got Virgil. Yeah. You got Boots. You got a lot of guys in that division. You got the African guy that just beat up on Tellez. You got a lot of guys.
Shoot,
You got a lot of guys in that division.
Charles Conwell.
Huh?
Charles Conwell.
You got a lot of guys in that division that I just don't see Mel coming back after 2 years off and running through nobody. Mel gonna need some tune-ups. He got to show somebody that he still got some fight in him. Because the way you went out against Alvarez, I don't even know if you got any fight in you, boy.
You got Nikita Zoo. Tim Zoo's little brother's not playing either. I mean, not to say he's like a big deal, but he's there. Yeah. He's there, bro, and he's knocking people out. He's putting hands and feet on people, bro. That's what he's in there doing right now. So,
well, you know what this old saying is, fellas, and my man Ray knows this. Me and Ray talked about this before. You're only as good as your last fight.
Right.
You're only as good as your last performance. And the last performance I seen from you, you went out like a sucker. So you got to redeem yourself.
I think it's all fair in love and war. And this boxing game is a sport with not a lot of love at times. And to speak the frank truth, nothing personal to Jermell Charlo, but I think it's all fair. I think the scrutiny comes from well earned scrutiny based on your last performance, and also adding to it that I believe the division, in my opinion, is a way more dangerous division. I think it's way more competitive. I think the pedigree of the fighters are way different than the pedigree of fighters he ran through to become a champion, and not taking anything away from his undisputed status. Because I remember having this conversation with Blue Blood, my brother. Shout out to my brother, Blue Blood Sports TV. And we had this conversation. Blue, if you are watching right now, you know where I'm going with this. We had a conversation about the eras of the 154 division and whether or not this era of 154 is the most competitive era we've seen in a long time. And I said, was it more competitive than Jermell Charlo's 154 era division? Now, we had a debate. It's on his channel. He was saying that it was with Jermell Charlo. I think he won the debate. You know what I mean? To be fair, I think he won the debate. But he was bringing up his fighters, and I was bringing up the fighters that were there. The only reason you won, though, Blue, if you're watching this, is because you snatched Erickson Lubin, and you know Erickson Lubin ain't from that generation. He part of this generation. He beat up that boy. That boy was like 12 years old when Jermell beat up Erickson. But anyway, that being said, I was explaining that this division is a way more competitive division. So what did Blue do? He made me take all the fighters of today's era and he put them to the fighters of that 154 division era that Jermell Charlo was in. And he won by 1 point because he took Erickson Lubin. It is what it is. That being said, though, I still stand, even at the end of that debate, I still walked away feeling like, nah, man, I don't think so. I think this era of 154 is a way more competitive era of fighters. I think it's way more dangerous. I think Virgil Ortiz, all those names that you ran down the list of, this is a whole new Pandora's box. And will Jermell Charlo compete at this level and just take belts and unify and become undisputed? And if he does do it, you got to give him his respect. But that being said, right? That being said, so he's talking about returning, and he's aiming at all of the champions. He's aiming at Sebastian. He made his posting. You saw the giraffe that represented Sebastian Fundora. You saw the boots. Clearly, we know who that represented. You saw him with the ox or the cow, whatever. And I think it said Virgil on the collar of the cow or something like that. You seen him talk about, even Errol Spence put out that there's no friends in this game, which I agree with him 100%. There's no friends in this game. That I know the space got crazy shaken by, like, oh, what the hell? He's turning on. Nah, bro, they're in the same division. They're going to fight because I'm not going to not fight you. You know, we're not close like that. Now let's factor in the team. My co-host Ray Davis brought up Derrick James and the role that he played in all of these fighters' careers and in that stable. And we don't want to take away from Derrick James. I don't want to throw shots at him. But can I ask the panel an honest question? And I want an opinion and some perspective on the idea that Derrick James at one point had Anthony Joshua, Ryan Garcia, Frank Martin, Errol Spence, Jermell Charlo, all at the same time, all dealing with their biggest fights. Could Derrick James have spread himself a little thin with that roster and fairly been able to give every one of those fighters their just due amount of time they needed to develop those fighters?
That's a good question.
What do you guys feel about that?
Go ahead, Flyer. What's up, man?
It's a little frequent. What's good, fam?
What's on, y'all?
Go ahead first, because I got an opinion on that.
Oh,
go ahead. Well, who got the opinion? Shelton, you have to speak on it?
No, go ahead, frequent.
Yeah, I got an opinion on that. I think that's a fair question. Go ahead, Frequent. I'll go after you. Go ahead, Frequent.
Yeah, I definitely think he spread himself a little thin. He had people in the camp really get him. You know, he had at one point he had and Ryan in there, you know, stirring up the camp thing. And he also his fighters took a lot of losses. I think, you know, there was a lot of bad shined on. Looking at was his it seemed like that was his first.
Frequent, your connection is horrible, bro. We're not hearing you at all, bro. I think
you gotta come back as far as frequency, bro.
Yeah, go out and come back in, bro. It's so bad I can't even weather it. It was horrible.
You're like halfway there.
Yeah, Shelton, go
Okay,
ahead.
so what I was gonna say was that I agree with Frequent and the fact that if you remember, he did a bunch of interviews around that time, and his arrogant ass was talking about, yeah, I give them all at least 2 hours a day. That's not enough to get a guy prepared for a fight, bro. If you're giving 8 guys 2 hours a day, what are you really doing? These dudes are training themselves. So yeah, I agree with you, Clay, and I agree with Frequent. He spread himself way too thin. He got way a little bit too arrogant. He won those 2 Fighter Trainer of the Year awards, and he thought his shit didn't stink.
Yeah,
calling Bo Mac Burger Mac and Fat Cheese and all that old shit he was saying about Bo Mac, and look at you now. Look at you now.
And yes, it tops it off. The first thing we seen as soon as Ryan joined the camp, who was the first one to leave? AJ got up out of there.
The big fish.
Well,
the big fish.
Is it fair to say that when you look at somebody like Terrence Crawford,
right,
or you look at somebody like Canelo Alvarez, or you look at somebody like Gervonta Tank Davis, and I'm giving you the biggest stars that I can think of in my mind, right? These guys are not sharing their trainers like that, right? Like, there's an understanding. When Canelo Alvarez had a fight coming up, Ryan Garcia had to go find his way. Teofimo Lopez had to go fight his way. Eddie Reynoso made it clear. He drew a definitive line in the sand and said, when my fighter is getting ready to fight, the fighter, my bread and butter, I'm not dealing with nobody else. If you want to mess with some of my flunkies that I got in here and want them to get you ready, hey man, all power to you. But I'm not even going to answer my phone call if you call me, right?
I'm only going to disagree with that one point.
Hold on, right? Now with Bo Mac brought a team in, right? So he made it to where, okay, yeah, I'm training Keyshawn, I'm training all these other fighters, but he had a team. And I remember, it's so funny because I remember Derrick James during that whole press conference between them actually throwing shots at Bo Mac, saying, you ain't over there by yourself. You ain't doing it by yourself. You got a whole team around you. You trying to act. So what was he doing? He was bolstering himself and saying that I'm over here creating all of this legendary, this stable I got, and I'm over here coordinating, and I'm doing it all by myself. And you soft for hiring a bunch of extra people. So my question is, somebody like Errol Spence or Jermell Charlo, did they get up to a point, being that Jermell Charlo at the time was an undisputed 154-pound champion, Errol Spence was getting ready to go into a fight to become an undisputed champion? Did each one of those fighters earn the right to have their own exclusive trainer? Did they earn that right to have somebody who's going to work with them exclusively and give them all the attention they needed to give them the best chance at defending their titles, or in this case with Errol Spence getting his titles?
I mean, you could say that.
Of course.
You could say that because I would say this. I said, just having Frank Martin, Jermell, and Earl was just enough for him. I think that was enough. They were spread out enough when they had their fights. They all had equal amount of time. They sparred with each other and they helped develop each other. So, they were always there at the same time. Once you started adding elements to that, when you brought AJ in first, and then you brought Jamal in for a couple of fights, and then you brought, and I think it was only one fight you brought Jamal before, and then you brought in Ryan, you started spreading yourself thin. That's when it started becoming a problem. That's when you started seeing like different training things going away. For the record, though, Magia was in camp with Canelo when he was training with Eddie Reynoso. Remember, he switched over with him, and he's the only person he kept. He got rid of T.O., he got rid of Ryan. But he did keep Magia, by the way.
Well, he kept Magia because Magia is a legitimate sparring partner.
Right.
He's a legitimate.
Of course.
He's helped with the Canelo.
I was about to go there. I was about to say, and that's why you seen it, that it was working when you had Earl and Jermell just there, because they were able to help tune each other. And that's the same thing you had with Magia. Magia was able to get Canelo ready, vice versa. For that fight, they were on the same card, believe it or not. So You know what I mean? When you have situations like that, it does make sense and it helps facilitate. But when you start breaking it down and you start bringing all these guys in, Ryan didn't get ready with Frank Martin, right? Frank Martin was looking at him like, yo, we training together. You over here doing something goofy, and I'm here doing the jump ropes, bro. Like, what are we doing right now? And you don't even look like you're taking it seriously. So we've seen these antics go on, and I think Derrick James has lost his camp at that point. Like, I think like people weren't respecting him as much because he was just spreading himself too thin.
Man, talk about it, because at the end of the day, another question is, and I mean, you guys are segueing for me, but I do have, believe it or not, it is structured in my mind how I want this to roll out, but you guys are just doing it on your own. So it is what it is. I ain't mad at you. I don't even know if you need me at this point, but I'm going to try to moderate and continue to move this along, right? So that being said, Derrick James spreads himself thin. We see Ryan Garcia come into camp, and in my opinion, I agree with you guys. I think he brought disarray, confusion to the camp. I think that just added to the confusion. Anthony Joshua got his taste of it and said, I don't really want this, right? Anthony Joshua coming from a whole different background, coming from the UK, getting that attention from his trainers. He immediately saw it. It took him about a month and a half or so before he realized. He even offered Derrick, I think you're a great trainer. I got a spot for you in London. If you want to take this trip, I'll pay for you, take care of you, financially take care of you. But I'm not into what I'm dealing with when I'm in this gym with these fighters and all these different personalities and all this emotional stuff and all this lack of attention and lack of discipline. It's not really my cup of tea. Derrick said, man, I got to focus on my camp. Anthony said, respect, man. Ben Davis, you still open? Yeah, okay. So he went to Ben Davis. That being said, Jermell Charlo going into that Canelo Alvarez fight, right? He brought in another trainer for that camp that he was working with, Juan Guzman, right? And I'll never forget, at the end of that camp, they asked Jermell Charlo, what is it that you would change if you could change anything about that camp? And you know what he said? He said, shoot, I would have learned Spanish. Now, that being said, to me, what that meant was I was working with Juan Guzman the whole time. You saw Derrick James in the ring cornering Jermell Charlo, and there was a point in time where Jermell Charlo and Derrick James looked like they bumped heads a little bit, because Derrick James says, what are we doing? Are we even going to fight? What's the game plan? And if you go back and you watch that video, Jermell smiles and looks over his shoulder at Juan Guzman, and he looks back forward. And bing, bing, it's time for him to get in the ring. It happened real quick. But to me, what it said was, Derrick James, shout out to my brother, Ray Davis, who said it, lost, I don't want to say the respect, but I'm going to say the faith of his camp. His camp didn't look at him the same. And these guys started going rogue, and we started to see what that looked like in the ring, because what was Derrick James's fighters really known for? Going rogue. They were known for not listening. They were going for, matter of fact, we'll sit up here right now and hold Derrick James accountable. And what will a lot of people in the chat say? What those guys did in the ring ain't Derrick James' fault. Derrick James was giving them great advice in the corner. They just weren't taking the advice. But the question is, why weren't they taking the advice? And when did that disconnect actually happen in real time, to the point to where Errol Spence didn't even feel like Derrick James was worth his weight in gold, and they got into it over pay. What do y'all think about that? Anybody can tap in.
Go ahead, Rich. Tap in.
I think Rich is tapped out. Okay, that being said, okay, cool. Look, right? It's all good. Right?
Okay. Well, I'll jump on it. What happened, in my opinion, is that I don't really want to hear what you got to say right now, because you ain't been here the whole time. Now you just pop up, jump in the corner, telling me this. You don't know what I worked on. You don't know what's going on with me. You don't know how I'm feeling coming to this camp. You don't know nothing, because you've been over there messing with Ryan. So I really ain't trying to hear what you got to say right now. Derrick James became super arrogant when he won those 2 back-to-back Trainer of the Year awards, and I think that was the downfall of his camp. I really believe that.
Yeah. So do you think that relationship with Derrick James and that transition, could that have been part of the hiatus? Could Jermell Charlo been looking for a new home, looking for a new program? Was he getting his ducks in a row? Was there a lot more going on in the background outside of the prize fighting that was holding him back in the understanding he was trying to have moving forward? Because he definitely, I don't know, did he learn Spanish? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, did Jermell spend 2 years learning
I agree with
Spanish?
that. I agree with Ray. I agree with Ray when he says there's a lot of noise in the background. I agree with that. But that's still, in my opinion, it's just me now. You can call me the old dude kicking people off the line or whatever. That ain't got nothing to do with you quitting, bro. You quit. And I just can't get over that. You quit.
Yeah. It is what it is when it comes to that, man. And I'm right there with you. I felt the same way. I was very shocked, and I was very disappointed in what I believe was a performance that could have been way better. I truly believe. Did I have him winning that fight? No, I did not have him winning the fight against Canelo. Do I think he could have competed at a higher level than he did? I am. And I'm not the fighter. I'm not the one in the ring. You know, a lot of his fans will jump on us and say, "You're not in there. You haven't been punched by Canelo. What would you?" Hey, bro, I hear you, bro. I mean, I'm not getting in there either, though. I'm not going in there to be jumped or excuse me, to be hit by Canelo Alvarez. But if I sign up to fight Canelo Alvarez, I'm expecting him to punch me real hard, bro. I'm expecting him, just based off of his record. I'm expecting that. And the fact that Jermell went in there, got hit, and decided that from the second round on, that man got on his bicycle and did not switch it up all the way into the end of that last bell in the 12th round. That was diabolical to watch. Hold on a second. I think I see somebody. Hold on a second. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. Hold on one second here. Bear with me. There it is. There it is, Blaze. So yeah, man, it is what it is. We're going into this division right now, into this landscape. I think we're going to see Jermell Charlo come into the division with a new team, clearly, right? He's not with Derrick James. He'll be coming into the ring with a new trainer, or he learned Spanish and he has Juan Guzman as his head trainer, one or the other. He's definitely going to I think, you know, there's going to have to be a tune-up period. And shout out to Coach Rel, who works with Shakur Stevenson out there out of Philadelphia, who spoke to me about this one time, because I asked him and I said, when, you know, as a new trainer getting ready to fight with a fighter, how would you approach, you know, getting into your first fight with him? And he said we definitely do a tune-up, because me and my fighters still need to gel. We've gelled inside the gym for the training camp. We've gelled in those areas, but we need to gel together inside of a real fight with the noise of the crowd. I need to know that I have my fighter's ear. I need to know when he gets punched on, when things change, when I need him to adjust, that he can dial in, focus on me, take my instruction, and execute accordingly inside the ring. So I think Jermell Charlo coming into the game right now as a prize fighter, by the way, until he shows me differently. And even though he's aiming at the champions, he's also aiming at the biggest bags of money. But as a prize fighter, now, if he was just coming back for legacy, I think it would make sense for him to take a tune-up fight. I think that's what he would do. That's one of the reasons I do give Jerron Boots Ennis the credit I give him. I know people hate the fact that he picked the Lima, but I don't think there's anything wrong with him easing his way into the division, because I think he's serious. I think he's really aiming at legacy. He's aiming at the titles. He's aiming at unifications. He's aiming at undisputed. And I think a fighter who's aiming at that moves the way Jerron's moving. I think a fighter who's aiming at money moves the way the fans want him to move. Jump right in there with Virgil Ortiz and leave his legacy behind and don't take the title, the unification at 147. You know what I'm saying? I think he jumps into the biggest money and he lets somebody like Turkey steer him. I think somebody who's steered towards legacy moves the way Jerron moves. But if Jermell Charlo's moving towards money, if prize fighting is the reason that he's been gone for 2 years, if prize fighting is the reason he looked like the way he did against Canelo Alvarez, and if he's moving into this space with a prize fighting mentality, then he's coming into the biggest, the hardest fight that's there, or at least a championship fight. He's coming into a fight that has money behind it. Is that a safe approach for somebody who's been outside the ring for 2 years? Or should he be moving differently, in your opinion, being from the last time you've seen Jermell Charlo in the ring?
It speaks a lot, to say the least, as you were just building upon. Like, I think he does what's best for him. I mean, he doesn't say that he's moving necessarily for the money, but he believes that he should get paid his worth, I believe. I think at the end of the day, it says a lot for him being at 154 and a champion and recess on I think 2 of the 4 sanction bodies. It also states a point that he believes wholeheartedly that he's the guy. He's still the guy, and that's why he deserves what he deserves. But I believe he's also a legacy-driven fighter. He wouldn't have went undisputed if he wasn't legacy-driven. He wouldn't have tried to fight for undisputed at another division if he didn't believe he was legacy-driven. So yes, the money's always playing a part, but he also believes that he earned that right to ask for the money because of his legacy-driven performances and career that he took and the choices. Regardless of it being who's in the corner, we don't know. You know what I mean? It may be he might have learned Spanish, as you would say, Juan Guzman. But Juan Guzman's always been an assistant trainer to him anyway. He's been with him the whole time. So, you know, that was nothing new.
True.
You know what I mean? That's nothing new. It's just the fact that he just probably felt that it was time to just break away and just work with Ron, because Ron's got him there mostly in his mind anyway. So a lot of these things and changes that we may be looking at, we don't know. It's only a matter of what happens going forward. I mean, I just wish the brother the best, and hopefully he does make a comeback and make some success. If not, it is what it is. What's up, HLD? And salute to Aircraft Carrier. He had a nice statement he said about Frank losing to Tank, and it was no slouch. EJ losing the Bud, no slouch. Jamel losing the Canelo, no slouch. It's not, and I agree with you. It wasn't. And I think just to address that, it's not them losing is a slouch. It's how Jamel lost. Was that a slouch? How Frank Martin lost? Was that, you know what I mean? Is that considered a slouch? How EJ lost? Is that a slouch? Because the way they lost speaks in connection of Derrick James being taken away from the sport. And then when I say the way they lost, we seen Frank Martin flinch in the ring when Tank jumped at him and then smiled and looked like, yo, I got you, right? Does that speak to that? Earl, who looked like he was undisciplined and not even ready for the fight with Bud. Are we taking away from that? Yeah, there's no slouches. And then not to mention Charlo quitting in the 3rd or 4th round of that fight and just giving up and just trying to cruise through. Those are the questions that we have to ask ourselves in those opinions when we say, are they slouches, or was it the point that Derrick James did that and made sense out of it? But shout out to you, bro. That was a great statement you made, and thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree, by the way. And once again, the ugly question, the elephant in the room, these are just questions. Derrick James gets full respect. All these guys get respect, but these are the elephants in the room. This is the reality of the sport, is consequences to the actions. And when you spread yourself thin, what are the consequences? When you lose the faith of your team, what are the consequences? It's not that these guys lost, right? But is it a fair conversation to have that if you gave me more than 2 hours in the gym, am I a better fighter for it? If I have my own trainer, am I a better fighter for it? Am I the best fighter I can be based off you allocating 2 hours a day to me, no matter how I look in the ring? Even if I become a champion with you giving me 2 hours a day, can I do more if you give me more of your time? And if I lose, well, then now we look and we start to scrutinize everything that was part of me preparing for this fight. And if I was truly only getting 2 hours a day from my trainer going into this fight, am I going to blame the trainer for the loss? No. But if I'm going to make an adjustment and try to be better in my next fight, I might take a look at that 2 hours and try to fix that. I might try to change that 2 hours. I might not just sit there and look past that 2 hours. If I'm looking back, right? If I'm looking back at my failure and I'm looking back at the adjustments I need to make, I might look at that 2 hours. I might take a look at that 2 hours and wonder if I can get that better than 2. And can you give me more than 2, being that you spread yourself thin with a whole roster of not just fighters, because that's nothing, superstars. Fighters who all in their own right deserve their own fighters, their own trainer. Ryan, Anthony Joshua, Frank Martin, Errol Spence, Jamel Charlo, all these guys was on the cusp at that time of doing something great and significant and giving Derrick James a big payday as well. Salute to Blaze pound for pound in the building. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing great. Appreciate being on the show with y'all. You're always popping in and talking about boxing, and mostly inside the ring and not the shenanigans outside.
Yeah. We try. Outside the ring sometimes we got to give it a little attention sometimes. But
we got to. Yeah, for some, you got to feed the algorithm. You dig? Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I would just say, when I'm thinking about it and hearing y'all conversation and hearing y'all talk about Derrick James, who was, trainer of the year and then had a great stable and boxers in this camp that fought at the highest level. The pattern that I just thought about when you was talking were that all of them seem to fade, if that's the best word for it, or just let's not really give full effort in their last fights, right? When you got Frank Martin against Tank, you got Charlo against Canelo, and then you got am I missing somebody, or are we just talking about Frank and
I
Jamel?
mean, really, we're talking about Jamel. That's what this conversation is about, and really, the conversation is about the hiatus, the return, the reason behind the hiatus. I think it's easy to just go to the money, obviously, and I think the money plays a big role in it. But there's also, I think, if we talk about it deeper, like we're doing now, we'll find that there's multiple factors, outside factors, that Jamel may have had reason to want to get his ducks in a row, because it didn't seem like they were in a row in that Canelo Alvarez fight.
Well, we've known him to have some out the ring issues, as far as personal issues that can get in the way of him training and performing at his best coming into the fight. But in the words of his brother, his big brother, Jermell Charlo, that Canelo check hit different, right? So he got that money, he got that Canelo check after this fight. And I think this activity is because, man, he's living with more money than he ever had in his life. But going into the fight, it was hard for me to watch when I seen it, because when I'm watching Jermell, I watch him in them first 2 rounds, have his strategy, hit Canelo with his best shot, and he just shook that shit off, and it demoralized him. Like, he had no power at 168. He had no punching power to keep Canelo from pressing him. And so we watched him run after that. And so it was just unfortunate. He was just outmatched as far as the size. And that's been the whole concern, with going in with Crawford going up. And, even people who they're critics and the haters, and these fanatics, that are against Bud, is like, hey, he had the decision against Madrimov at 154. They're like, oh, he moves up 2 weight classes. There's no way Canelo's gonna eat him. He ain't got no power or whatever. Yada yada yada. And I think, I think that's what it looked like for me. It looked like they had a good plan. It just looked like he physically couldn't be able to compete with Canelo. And I mean, that's okay. That ain't necessarily the trainer's fault, but that ain't necessarily his fault, unless he feels some type of way about the nutrition and strengthening and conditioning and having him prepare for that fight, or maybe them watching more tape, or like you said, devote more time to him for that fight. I would assume during the Canelo fight, he was getting as much time from Derrick James as he possibly could. But what we see though is unfortunate that oh yeah, Spence too. Them guys just leaving the camp. They all left this camp. So I think it is what the brother said earlier. It'd be like, you got to have more time and have a coach when you're fighting at that high level, and you're fighting at the highest level competition like that. That you have a coach that's totally devoted towards you. Because you can't miss in these particular moments, because these are the biggest moments of your life and your career. And so that's why I was missing, because it was like, if you notice, after Spence got his biggest payday and got crushed by Crawford, you got Charlo had his biggest payday and got sat down by Canelo. And then you had Frank Martin had his biggest payday and he got sat down by Tank. Derrick James trained him and got him all the way up to these big main events. So now the question is it look like what we seen in the ring, we seen from all of these things with heart internally, right? Because he trained you to get you to this highest level. Your record was great. Your skill set was great. Everybody was saying great things about you before you got into the ring with these great fighters. So being that I'm not in the camp, being that I don't know any type of sources of what's going on, what the exact riffs is and all of that, what I just see is that, there's levels to the sport of boxing. And Derrick James was a great trainer, but it might have been that he was spread thin and not being able to devote as much time to each boxer that they needed. But on the other end, like I said, we know Jermell had out the ring issues for years. We don't know much about Frank Barton. He seemed like he'd been pretty good. He ain't had no type of controversies outside the ring, etc. And then, when we're dealing with was it Jermell, Frank, and Spence, the car accident, you feel me? Just, him coming in, the speculation, we don't really know. The videotapes of him drunk and slurring speech and all that other stuff, we don't really know what was going on outside the ring that didn't have them at their optimal level when they entered the ring. And I'm gonna land my plane right there.
No doubt. Coach Eddie, how you doing?
Hey, before, what's up, Coach?
Salute. What's going on, brother? Salute, man. Go ahead, Rich.
No, I was about to pick up behind Blaze. I just got back. I don't know exactly what y'all really on, but as far as what I heard Shannon say the same thing about Jamel Charlo. I felt like that a lot of these guys, I don't know, he got like a thing with like having fighters that get starstruck or something. I don't know. Because or they just not disciplined. A lot of these guys don't be disciplined. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I can't really blame him for that shit, but a lot of these guys just don't seem disciplined. And as far as Jamel Charlo, when he fought Canelo, it seemed like after the fight, I said this before, after the fight, the only words that stand out in my mind, what he said that show me where his mentality was at, you know what I'm saying, was when he said, I ain't get knocked out though. And that's the shit that really threw me off. He just kept saying, I ain't get knocked out though. So that's what you had in your mind. Like that's obviously what you had in your mind. Look, I'm gonna go into this fight and I'm not gonna get knocked out. Yeah, I might lose, but I'm not gonna get knocked out. That's not the mentality you're supposed to have. Your mentality is supposed to be, I'm gonna go in this fight and win. You know what I'm saying? And it's just, I don't know. But that's all I want to say. Like, sometimes it ain't really. I don't think it's really his fault. But a lot, he just happened to always get people that's just, I don't know. Like
I don't think it's his
and that's
fault.
where.
Wait, hold on 1 second. I don't think it's his fault necessarily, but you know, shout out to Showbiz because I always shout him out for this line he always says, and he says, "Is there a difference between an excuse and a reason?" In other words, no excuses can be made. You are who you are when you get in that ring. You make a decision to sign a contract. You make a decision to compete at the level you're going to compete in with what you have available to use in the fight. But is there a reason? Can somebody go into a ring not 100% prepared like they need to be, but still compete, not make an excuse for the loss, still take the loss, but still acknowledge a reason that, hey, man, I wasn't 100% of myself because of these reasons, and I'm going to check these reasons, not to change your mind necessarily about the loss, but to make sure this doesn't come up again in the next fight. Shout out to Coach Eddie Shelton. You want to say something real quick? Because I want to give it to Eddie, who just came.
That's where I disagree. You know, I was in the military, and one thing there's a lot of things I can't control, but the one thing you can't control is effort. You can control how much effort you put in there. He didn't have no effort. I can't respect that.
Salute. Coach Eddie, how you feeling today, man? In good spirits?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm good, brother. How's it going, man?
No complaints. Won't complain.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold Derrick James responsible for that, man. That was all Charlo. And I'm gonna tell you why, man. Either you got it or you don't. It's like he went in there and he got dominated. You know, he didn't have it, man. You know, Joe Frazier was not going to be dominated by Muhammad Ali. Them dudes fought in freaking Philippines, 115-degree, 15-round fight, man, because you know what? I'm coming to get something. I'm not coming to show up. I'm coming to do a job. And at some point in time, you got to have enough grit, enough pride, you know, enough wherewithal within yourself to go in and get the job done. And basically, when he tucked his tail, man. Can't blame that on Derrick, man. That was in his heart. It's always been there. It just took somebody like Canelo Alvarez to expose it. You know what I'm saying? Think about when Marvin Hagler fought John the Beast Mugabe. A killer, bona fide killer. He said, you know what? I'm going in there and I'm going to get the job done. That's what Marvin Hagler was in his heart. It's WAR, war. Go to prison, get ready, and come back to, to commence to destruction. When he fought Thomas Hearns, a bona fide knockout artist. Woody went in there, got the job done. So, Jamal, you notice the Charlos have always argued with people. They always got into it with Demetrius Andrade. They never fought the guy. They got in it with Danny Jacobs. Never fought the guy. They talk a lot of stuff, man. But then when it's time to put up a shut up, which was Canelo Alvarez, he went there, he laid an egg, he tucked his tail. He was afraid of that man. Like I say, he got a loud roar, but you know what I'm saying? It was like that lion didn't have any teeth. It was a toothless lion that day. And you can't blame that on Derrick. That's in his soul. and that's who he is at a core. Now, Bud, I don't think he's like that. You know, when he get in that fight, Canelo, he's going to put on because he has never showed me any indication that he's like that. And I think Bud is the real deal. And win, lose, or draw, he going to try to win the fight. He's not coming to survive. He's coming to get the job done. So I think that's what's on display when them two guys fight.
Yeah, salute. I appreciate the perspective, man. I think, you know, this return on Jermell Charlo is going to be an interesting thing to watch and understand, because I do think we all have preconceived ideas of this man in a way we did after the Canelo than before going into Canelo fight. I think that he's coming into a division that I truly believe is going to test that spirit again. It's going to test that heart again. The fighters are way more fierce. I think there's a lot more power. I think there are bigger threats. They're way more competitive. There are bigger prizes to get. And that heart is going to get put right out there to be tested again. He's going to be tested again. And if he didn't check that box in his 2-year hiatus, it's going to show up probably in a bad way. It's going to show up in a bad way. I want to go ahead and move the conversation along a little bit, because I do want to talk about this Floyd Schofield and Raymond Moratala fight that's getting announced, or you know, in negotiations right now for November. Floyd Schofield already supposedly having a card that he's going to be maybe headlining, but at least be on. I'm assuming it's going to be a Golden Boy card. And Raymond Moratala, the IBF champion, is giving Schofield an opportunity at that belt. We know that Andy Cruz was supposedly the one in line, and that Moratala spoke to the idea that he wanted to have a, you know, stay busy fight, or, you know, a tune up. I don't know what you want to call it, but, you know, that being said, is Floyd Schofield Jr. a tune up? And also, I want to speak a little bit on this weight cut. Floyd Schofield Jr. in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, had a real complicated medical situation. We know his father screamed out foul play, talked about him being sabotaged and massages happening and things of that nature, and that was a reason. But Shakur Stevenson's team said, look, that kid did not look like he was going to make weight that week. They say blatantly he was looking crazy. We seen him. We didn't even understand how that was going to turn into 135. Right? We didn't understand how that was going to turn into 135. So that being said, we also saw Schofield Sr. on social media and on interviews with Mill City speak on why he didn't want to fight Shakur Stevenson underneath the WBC sanctioning body rules.
Yeah,
because
I remember that.
Remember, and it was because of the weight. It was because you guys they do a weight check. I think 4 days before the weigh-in, 7 days before the weigh-in, 14 days before the weigh-in, and 30 days before the weigh-in. And if you're not there at the weight where you're supposed to be at that time period, you risk the fight getting thrown off. So that being said, on his last fight he had against Tevin Farmer, Floyd Schofield Jr. stepped on the scale butt naked to just make the weight to fight Tevin Farmer. He literally stripped naked, and they had to put a towel around him, right? They had to put a whole thing around him. He had to strip naked to make that fight. How comfortable are we seeing Floyd Schofield go into a fight with Raymond Moratala, not only at 135, but with a 10-pound rehydration clause on him now the next morning? Is this going to play a factor in this fight? And is that why Raymond Moratala has chosen Floyd Schofield for a title defense with his IBF title? What do you guys think about it?
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ray. Hold it down too. Go ahead.
Just to speak on that real quick. Thank you, Rich. I think, first of all, Raymond Moratala is more dangerous to Floyd Schofield Jr. than in actuality Shakur was. Not saying that Shakur couldn't have beat him or Shakur's not a better fighter than both fighters. What I'm saying is, I think when you look at styles make fights, and I think Raymond Moratala is actually the perfect storm for Floyd Schofield Jr. We actually seen it in the fight when he got dropped. Similar fighter, taller in stature, hard nose, can take a punch, and ain't afraid to stay in the ring and box you and utilize the ring in the style that sets forth to getting you in and out of there. Can go the distance and has great endurance. So to me, this is all the elements of a bad choice. Forget about the weight clause for a second. Just for styles alone, I believe that Raymond Moratala is actually the more superior fighter, and I think it's very possible that they chose him because they thought that he was the most vulnerable of the champions, and they think that that's the way to go. And I just have bad news for him. That's not the way to go. That's just crazy and ludicrous. And I think that was just a bad move on the Schofield part, or maybe a good move on the Muratalla or the Top Rank part. As we move to the next question that Clay had at hand was, does the weight play issue? Absolutely. And that just sets it up even more, because now you're playing with a 10-pound rehydration clause that you can barely make the weight on a WBC when they had you scaling down. They were weighing you week to week to see how you were doing with the weight loss. And you said you were on par. You were putting pictures up that you were on par. You were like 139 literally a week before the fight, and then you just turned around and you couldn't even, and you didn't make weight, or whatever the case may be. You know, smoke and mirrors are what they are. You didn't release all the information, but then you start blaming other things, and you did later on say the weight was an issue with the WBC. So if that's the case, how are you going to do with the IBF when you have to keep that weight off for another day, and then try to rehydrate later in that night? Are you going to be sluggish? Are you going to be weak? Like, what are the chances? And then Raymond Muratalla, who's a bigger fighter and a more experienced fighter than I think anybody you ever fought. Tevin Farmer obviously was a great fighter. I'm not taking that away from him, but Raymond Muratalla being a young fighter, and I should say, other than Tevin Farmer, the most experienced fighter you ever fought, is he going to? Are you going to be able to withstand and beat a guy with experience like that? Beat a guy that's willing to shell it all out and beat you. Matter of fact, I got news for you. He beat Tevin Farmer too, whether it was questionable or not. So you have a common opponent. We'll see how this all works out, and we'll see if the power translates as it did in that fight, or are we looking at you taking an L, because I think Raymond Muratalla has the goods to actually beat Floyd Schofield Jr. I just think styles make fights in this case, regardless of weight.
No doubt. Salute to you, Ray. That was a great perspective, man. And you know, it makes me question, and I'll move it on to the next person. But I mean, it just makes me question, why are you hanging out at 135 that long if you're making the weight? If you're taking all these steps to make the weight, and you can't do it in a healthy way, or I mean, you're doing it in a healthy way. You look good against Tevin Farmer, but did we really see that conditioning get tested, being that you knocked him out inside of a minute and some change? You know what I mean? So here you go going into a fight. And is there an argument there to say that you were picked because of certain intangibles that people aren't talking about? The elephant in the room is you are a big, and I consider Floyd Schofield Jr. to be a big 135-pound fighter. When he gets in the ring, you see it. Like on the day of the fight, this guy is big in comparison to his opponents. Right. Well, now you're going into a fight against Raymond Muratalla. There's a rehydration clause that says you need to stay inside of 10 pounds on the morning of that fight. And I'm wondering how this plays out in the long run when it's all said and done.
It's leverage, though, to your question. He's staying there because they're trying to get a belt so they can leverage it at 140. That's all that is.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Rich. My bad.
No, I was waiting for somebody to say that exactly. Go ahead, Rich.
And that's y'all can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
And that's another thing I was gonna say. That's the only reason why I think that he's staying there. Another thing, man, it's like these guys we not trying to bring him into the mix, but I am bringing him to the mix. But Abdullah Mason a big guy too, man. It's like these guys just, I don't know what they get out of staying at a weight class. Or
he had the trip naked too, by the way.
But but get the fuck on, man. Like for real, get the fuck on. But as far as the fight go, man, that fight will be a good fight. I really feel like that fight will make someone or break someone for real. That fight will be a good fight. I'm not gonna give the edge all the way to Muratalla yet. I think that Floyd Schofield, a lot of people think that he's crazy in the head or whatever, but he the one that really did all that shit with the Shakur thing. I really think just to get his son name out there even more. You know what I'm saying? I really think that shit was just a big come up to get him out there even more. I think he's smart. He know who to pick and who not to pick. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he might see something in Muratalla that, you know, that's the reason why he making his son take this fight. You know what I'm saying? So,
ooh, that's a powerful word you just used there. Making his son take the fight is very interesting. I like that.
Don't put that on me.
Listen, man. That's an interesting statement in a dynamic like what we look at. When we look at Floyd Schofield Jr., we cannot talk about him and not talk about senior. So listen, the dynamic is there. You're just talking to the elephant in the room, not putting it on you, but I am acknowledging The statement is a powerful statement. Shout out to HLD in the building. And shout out Pop Shot Talk 73 in the building. Well, hold on, HL, because I know you're going to drop some science. Pop Shot, what's on your mind and how you feeling? Pop Shot on 1 and 2 and 3. And okay, HLD, how you doing, family?
What's going on, guys, man? Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you guys are at. How we doing?
Man, we doing good, man. Good spirits, man. Good health. Health is wealth, and we're all healthy, so can't be in a better place, man.
That's the major coin for all of us, that we all need help. Hey, so we're talking about the proposed fight that they're going to be having with Murataya and Kid Austin. I think it's a great fight for both of these guys, and I'm hearing a lot of talk about the weighs, but weight and how big Schofield is and how, his struggles and whatnot, but let's not be sign that if Murataya is on the same path. That kid has looked very, very lackluster having to make that weight. He looks slow. He doesn't look as sharp. His punches don't have the snap. It's been a minute. So I think as far as that goes, both guys are having those issues, but I've only seen Murataya have an effect of it because he looks slower to me. He doesn't look as strong. He doesn't look as explosive. So I think it's a good fight, maybe more on the side of Kid Austin. And it's a good name for Murataya. Yo, you the champ. You wanna have a name under your belt. It's a good popular name. I think it's a win-win for both sides. Money-wise, well, we know that the Schofields are going to have $1 million guarantee with their 5-year, $5 million deal. So they're good to go no matter what. But it's an opportunity for a belt. You cannot turn that down. I just don't think nobody should be turning down any championship fight. You that's the goal. That's the goal. Unless you want to be a globetrotter like Tank Davis, you need to be a champion. You need to go get that belt, whatever it takes. And so I think this is a good opportunity for them, since they blundered the one with Shakur for whatever reason that happened on both sides of whatever happened over there. But this is a good opportunity, and they're lucky to get it.
Yo, I love the other angle that you put out there, and in also two things that you put out there. Number one, you put out there that Raymond Mortala brings his own set of issues to the table, as well as he's also looking like he may be outgrowing the division. I think that's also very significant. That IBF belt, man, comes with a lot of weight, man. It's not for everybody. That IBF belt is an interesting belt. You know what I mean? I see a lot of champions deal with it. I watched Jaron Ennis deal with the IBF. I'm watching my guy Richardson Hitchens deal with IBF. And here we are with Raymond Mortala, an IBF champion. And just like you said, you don't turn away championship fights. But I do feel like out of all the belts, the IBF is the one where it's like, all right? So, but regardless of the fact, Schofield Jr. can't turn away or shouldn't turn away from an opportunity like this. Raymond Mortala is also looking like he's on his last legs in the division. Golden Boy has this deal, which is another thing you highlighted with Schofield, where they're giving him a guarantee, $1 million a fight or something of that nature, right? So Golden Boy is sending Schofield out there to go get a belt. At the end of the day, if we're going to put you in fights and pay you all this money, we're done giving you tune-ups. We're going to give you fights that are going to bring accolades back to Golden Boy. And you could lose these fights, but we're counting on you to win these fights. That being said, how long at the end of this fight does Schofield stay in the division, or does he move on? Because I don't care what anybody says. I'm watching this kid, in my opinion, grow. Yes. But I'm still seeing him at 135. I don't understand.
There's a caveat to this IBF that I think it's more of a scare thing than anything. You can only not gain more than 10 pounds for the first 24 hours to the next morning weigh-in. After that, do as you will. It's only until the next morning. So, and I've spoken with many clients that like people make a lot out of it. You're able to gain weight. You're able to gain weight for 24. You're able to gain 10 pounds in 24 hours, and after that, the next morning after that, from that 9 a.m. or whatever the time is that they weigh in on Saturday, you do what the heck you want until the fight hour. So there's no holdback. So I think it's more mental maybe, because you're not limited to what you really can, rehydrate to the hour of the fight. So I've heard coaches say it's more mental. A lot of my fighters have done it. I don't see the issue with it unless you're really, really on that critical You know what I mean? I'm getting butt naked. I'm about to die on the scale. That type of thing. Maybe that's where we're seeing that these guys, they need to stop being weight bullies and get the heck out of the division.
Yeah, I mean, Schofield got butt naked on his last weigh-in for sure, and we just don't know what really happened in Saudi Arabia. We just don't know. That's all I'll say. We just don't know.
But let's just keep it a buck too. If we do, what we do know in Saudi Arabia is that they put that rehydration clause on, or that weight drop per week on him, or I think it was per week on him.
The WBC has that, but the BBOC has a mandatory weigh-in on the Wednesday before the Friday weigh-in, and you have to be within a percentage of that 135 limit.
Exactly. So those percentages had to come off, and obviously he was not capable or sustainable of doing so. So that right there says a lot. When you're talking about weight distribution and weight losses and things of that nature, and how you maintain the weight loss. The IBF, yes, it is a little scientific with that morning next day thing. You had to be, I think it's like 10 a.m. in the morning. You're allowed to you have to stay at the same weight to 10 a.m. the next morning. Then after that you can. But holding that weight off longer, as you can even see with the Frank Martin situation, right? Holding that weight off longer. When Tank made him wait for how long, Clay? Like 6 hours, 4 hours later to get the weigh in going.
Strategy.
That plays a part in you having to hold that weight off. And these guys look forward to putting something in their bellies or rehydrating. So if you're not capable or not able to do so within that time frame, it could be a big problem. And these guys know that. That's why these guys are so susceptible to not following IBF standards or unifying when they got a belt for the IBF, because then they don't have to follow those rules. They all kind of like avoid it unless these guys are really serious. If you look at Hitchens knew what his chances were. He knew he had a better chance of fighting this guy than that guy. So he chose not to fight Matias, your boy, right? He chose not to fight him because he knew that would weaken him. He knew he wouldn't stand a chance. But when he fought a Paro or somebody, Cambosis, he felt that he had a better chance of defending and taking the title because the fact that those guys are not much of a threat to him. So it plays its part. It has its ups and downs, and it has its reasons. Now, as far as Muratalla is already accustomed to the IBM rules and things of that nature. And because he's that dog is crazy. Because he's already accustomed to that, I'm gonna let him play. Hold on. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Yeah, go take care.
But I was about to talk about Muratalla and Virgil Ortiz BS excuse, man. So we know that Virgil Ortiz had his issues at 147, but now you're at 154, my man, and you don't decide to want to fight or challenge or anything, not even say his name to Bakram to challenge him, but you steal his opponent. Bakram is bigger than you, Virgil, and he's got the IBF. He's a 6-footer. He's a bigger dude, and he's doing it. So I think it's just a lot of mental games or ways that people are going to start using as an excuse not to want to take the challenge. It could go both ways. And I don't want to deal with the IBF rules. And bro, you're saying that because you just don't want to face that one dude. That's why. I feel that's what's happening with Bakram. That's what Virgil just did.
No doubt. Salute to Robert Chandler in the super chat. Thank you for the color. Says, my issue with Muratalla is he keeps his head on the line and gets clipped in fights. And I'm sure the Schofield's aware of that. With that said, if Floyd doesn't get him out inside the first 5 rounds, Muratalla will dominate the second half of the fight. I like the assessment. I think that's a fair assessment. I think Raymond Moratalla's ability to weather the storm of Floyd Schofield and not approach the fight the way Tevin Farmer did is going to play a factor in this one, acknowledging the real threat in front of him. But I do agree with you. I think the second half of this fight is a very interesting part of this fight because, like I said, man, I'm still got my eyes on this weight cut, and I'm wondering how much does Schofield have left for 135? And with a 10-pound rehydration clause, I'm interested in what he looks like inside the ring.
Let me jump in here, Clay. You talking about Schofield Jr., the guy that said he was drugged, the guy that said they put dope in his car.
Senior said Let's give Schofield Jr. some grace, bro.
Come on, Senior man. Said that. You didn't stop it. You didn't say nothing against it. Silence is complicity where I come from. If you silent, you complicit where I come from. Okay, if you silent, you complicit. That's you know fair. What I'm saying? You did all this. You were scared to fight Shakur Stevenson, so you made up this big ass story. Now you talking about this guy having some kind of a heart or cojones. This dude, man, I want to see this dude fight somebody. The last time I really saw this dude fight, he was tired. He fell down in the 12th round. The dude, I don't know what you guys see in this dude. He beat Tevin Farmer, who was probably still hurt from the second fight with the other non-punching dude that Shakur beat on. Zayas. Zayas. What's that fool name?
Zepeda.
Trash ass dude. That dude's garbage. I think Muay gonna dominate this kid. This kid has never been pushed. He's never been tested. The one test he had with that one guy, remember he had his first 12-round fight and he gassed out in the 11th? You remember that, Clay?
You're on, yeah.
Yeah, that guy. I mean, this dude is not what they say he is. I don't know. His daddy with the big-ass horse teeth always want to talk him up like he's some kind of – this dude is not that, man. We got to see more from this dude. I hate it when fans crown these dudes like, oh, he's not that. If you watch him fight, he's average at best. We'll see when he fights somebody.
Wow. I don't know, man. I think Kid Austin is a talented fighter, but I agree with you 100% that you got to show me in the ring. And this, I believe, is going to be a step up for him. Obviously, it's a championship fight for him. And I think the conditions of the fight is going to be challenging. I think he's going to be challenged inside the ring and outside the ring, getting ready for this fight and staying inside a weight. Hopefully he doesn't. Maybe he'll show us and prove us wrong. He'll make this weight very easily, and it'll be what it is. But based off of what I've seen him in the past two fights with the Shakur Stevenson situation going into the Tevin Farmer situation, I see somebody from my eyes that makes me question how they're dealing with that weight cut. It is what it is. It is what it is. Still an undefeated fighter running into this with a championship. It is what it is, man. Let me see. Don't talk. Salute to Pop Shop Talk 73 in the building. How you doing, fam? Is that connection better?
Yeah, man. I'm on the road, back and forth. So you know how it is in these woods, bro.
Yes, sir. So how you feel about the topic at hand, man? Or what's on your mind?
Look, we got to go off of what we last saw. You know what they say in boxing, you're only good as your last performance. And,
right.
It's a lot left to be desired for fans to want to see if what we saw was real or, if it was just, fugazi, fool's gold. But I think he's a strong young fighter. His dad does put a little bad light on him. I personally think that he should probably, if he's going to go through with this fight, step away, go to 140, because it's a lot more challenges, a lot more, high profile fights that could be there. To come to think of it, I say, Keyshawn Davis, he's looking to try to get back into the fans' good graces, and the only way to do that with boxing fans is get in the ring. What happened, in my mind is gone. So Gary Antoine Russell, he's looking for somebody to fight. Gary, then you got Hitchens out there. He's out there in the abyss looking for somebody to fight. So he got plenty of options. If he moves up to 140, got Teofimo Lopez out there. He's straggling. These guys out here none of those guys but one has a belt. You know what I'm saying? Hitchens does have a belt as well, but those guys are low hanging fruit. I think he go up there. He can like you said, petition his belt to get in there for a championship fight. He probably take a tune up, and then go out there and showcase his talents because if he's not that, we'll find out real quick in that 140 division. If he is, he'll put his name on the map. He probably get back in a little good graces with Turkey, because Turkey like a good fight. It's all about the bread in the fight for him.
Yeah, man. I think without a doubt, he's at some point. He's coming up. 140 is right there, in his near future. I think it's right there. I agree with my brother Ray, who says leveraging the title is probably what he's trying to do. Collect some kind of a title so he can leverage it into 140, so he doesn't have to enter it as a prospect. Damn near, he can enter it as a real contender and get into big fights. Leverage it into some sort of title fight or mandatory or even an interim fight that he can make at 140. We know Hitchens is a champion up there. I also think that's somebody who's got to be on the cusp of entertaining going to 147 at some point. I think 140 is becoming, if he doesn't get a unification fight soon, he's going to have to entertain getting about that division. And it doesn't seem like T.O. is in the conversation of fighting Hitchens. Gary Antoine is very excited to fight Hitchens, but I don't know. Hitchens is not looking very interested in that fight either, as I've seen him entertaining Lamont Roach. You know what I mean? But he has to jump. His hand is being forced. It's either get into a unification or get out the division for him. That IBF rehydration clause seems to be torturing him a little bit. We'll see what ends up happening in that fight. Salute to Nick J. Queens of boxing in the building, said he's young. He should stay at 135 as long as he can make the weight and be healthy. As long as he can do it healthy. I think that's the big part right there. I think that part right there is the part right there that's important, Nick J, is as long as he can make the weight and be healthy. As long as that's the case, and do what you do, man. Guys, we got like 40 people in the building. I went down there. 40 people in the building. Please take a moment to hit that like button if you haven't done so. Subscribe to the channel. Obviously, it's always there. Why wouldn't you have done it already? But it's okay. I'm reminding you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So let's segue a little bit outside of this Flo Schofield and Raymond Moritala fight. If it happens, it happens. That's what's up. Yo, any questions on the heavyweight division? The heavyweight division's Daniel Dubois getting rid of Don Charles? I mean, I thought that was interesting that he would come up with a loss and immediately get rid of the guy who got him to the big show and to the big conversation. Am I bugging? Has anybody been watching that?
I mean, if you're talking about like loyalty type of stuff, I understand where you're coming from, but we don't know what are the details and the facts about what this man was doing for him and how he feels about it. I mean, I understand like, hey, the loyalty part, but are you still good for me or not? And if you're not, then you got to go. It's as simple as that. I don't think there's, when it comes to business, we could be best friends, but if you served your purpose and you no longer work, good for me and my business, you got to go, man. And I'm going to get somebody who I think is going to be better. So I don't know what the details are of that. I understand the aspect about loyalty, and I'm not saying, but are you serving me the purpose that I need you to serve me? And if you're not, it's time to go. As simple as that. I don't have an issue with that.
Well, I mean, I agree with you, right? But I mean, going into that fight with Alexander Usyk, I think Don Charles was getting celebrated for breaking through with Daniel Dubois and helping him get back, off of his lack of confidence. And, there was communication there, and it seemed like Daniel Dubois bought into the process and seemed like Don Charles was in a good space with him, even with the father. So it does seem kind of just out of nowhere that it happened. It doesn't seem like it didn't seem like Don Charles was nowhere near being on the outside looking in when it came to the conversation.
You got to remember, there was a little issue with him having that pre-party shit.
Right.
And maybe his coach wasn't down with that shit and told dad, "You a piece of shit. Fuck you for doing that. Let's just call it a butt." He may have told his dad, "You are a piece of shit father, blah, blah, blah." And blood is thicker than water, and that in some of these cases like that. And man, we can't get along, and you got to go. And what happened anyway? He got his ass whooped because
that being said, and I like you brought that up. I'll be setting this up because I'll be wanting somebody else to say it because I already got it. So I always try to paint a picture and try to get people to fill it in. And I'm always more interested in your ideas than mine, obviously, in this segment of the show. I take my time before the show, before the segment to communicate. So I always like you guys to break it in. But yeah, man, there was definitely a party going on before that fight. It was very interesting. A lack of focus, a lack of attention to detail. And we know that it wasn't Don Charles who was the host of that party. In fact, the host of the party seemed to have been more his father, who brought all these quote unquote friends and family. And they mentioned that they did the same thing for the Anthony Joshua fight. So they felt like this became kind of tradition, ceremonial almost to a degree, that we're going to continue this tried true tradition that we just came up with, that we're going to celebrate before the fight. Don Charles being the stoic, passionate boxing trainer that he is, I do wonder if there was communication between him and Samuel Dubois. Is his name Sam Dubois? Is that his father's name? I think his name is Stan or Stan. I wonder if there was a conversation that I don't want to say got nasty, but at the end of the day, do we think that Don Charles expressed some indifference with that decision and really wanted more control over what was going on with Daniel Dubois, and that was the crossroads that he may have hit and what ultimately ended up getting pushed out? And that being said, if that was the reason if that was actually the reason as to why the separation happened, is this benefiting Daniel Dubois or is this a step back for Daniel Dubois?
Well, in my opinion, Clay, is you could probably throw a little salt on both ends of the party. When you're looking at that fight, you know, Daniel Dubois didn't look good. He didn't look his technique didn't look sound. He was easily hit. He didn't put up much of a fight. Then you can also say that maybe his father did begin to get into his ear a little bit after the fight. So he probably threw some blame more on the coach, and then who's to say that Daniel wasn't more receptive to the information that was being coached to him, and that could have been a little bit of why things didn't come together. Because boxing it's a team once you get inside that ring. You gotta sometimes listen to your coach because he's looking on the outside and he's telling you what you need to do, and if you're not receptive to it, sometimes that could lead to your downfall. And I think it's probably a little bit of both. So maybe it is time to part ways. You had 2 opportunities with Usyk, and the second time around you look worse than the first. So maybe it's time to part ways.
Yeah, I want to speak to that. When I dealt with father and son dynamic in boxing for a very long time, I got to the point where I won't even take on a fighter if his father's involved. Let me tell you why. Because he has 2 coaches now. Because especially if he's a younger kid, because after you train him, he's listening to his dad on the way home. He's listening to his dad on the way to the gym. His dad is the one that's carrying him to the fight. So who's he listening to before he goes to the fight? Father. It's a bad dynamic, man. It really is. Fathers, I mean, unless the father's gonna be the head trainer, I tell you, I prefer the father to be sitting in the freaking audience, man. Because it's too much confusion. I'm pretty sure his dad was saying one thing and Don Charles was saying another thing. And now you're confusing the fighter, especially a fighter like Daniel Dubois, who really, I ain't gonna say too much about him, but he may, we all know the stigma on Daniel Dubois as far as his intelligence or whatever. He maybe need to be maybe one track. Not maybe not intelligent. That may be the bad word, but he needs to stay focused.
He's on the spectrum. I think he's dealing with some like probably like legitimate like medical things going on with his processing time.
Right. Still a great guy, great champion. Multi-millionaire. Salute to him, very successful. But I think Don Charles done a tremendous job. You know what I'm saying? He kept it as simple as he could, and I think it goes back to what I was saying. It's in him. I think when Daniel gets hurt, very badly, he just kind of falls apart, and he packs it in, man. And that's who he is, man. I'm not calling him a quitter but he packs it in. I guess it's kind of smart. You really think about it because he figures like, hey, I can't beat this guy, so he just kind of surrenders. You know what I'm saying? Waves the flag, and he throws the towel in himself. But maybe it is a change because I'm pretty sure his father was probably speaking ill of Don Charles. So the respect is gone, the trust is gone. I think we even seen Daniel push Don Charles, if I remember correctly, in one of those. But that lets you know everything that you need to know right there. The respect is gone. The respect is gone.
Yeah, also, just to add to it and just say that I think with Daniel, 10 seconds is not enough time for him to process thought. I think what we're watching is not necessarily his heart, it's more so he doesn't have enough time to think. I think the way his brain works, I think he gets caught up thinking. You can see it even when he went down, him listening to his father outside the ring, looking forward to listen to Don Charles. And I think that dynamic was just too much for him. I really think there's a medical thing going on with his ability to process information and take it in and then make a decision. And I think a 10 count just drowns him. Go ahead, Ray.
And just to mention that we have to remember that, like you said, Coach Eddie, there was a time and place where they had an altercation. Let's just look at the fight prior to that when they were in the corner and you seen him looking to his father instead of Don Charles. while he was sitting there in the corner for 3 or 4 rounds and looking for his dad to give him something because his dad's whispering outside the ring. And I remember talking about it, and I think we were live play when you were like, why is his dad distracting him from the message? Like, he needs to be getting the message. And his dad's sitting there screaming something else, and then he gets in there, and, you know, whatever the case may be, he didn't look great. Then he ended up getting that wasn't the Anthony Joshua fight, by the way. That was the fight prior. But then we got the situation. We also look at how if he, I believe he is on Osberger or Allberger. He's an Osberger or whatever, that type of the thing that they have with the Ashburger. Thank you. I believe that he is that very intelligent, able to cooperate, do everything normal. Problem is the mindset of, like Clay just mentioned, is a developing of thinking. And when you start thinking and it takes you time to think, it slows you down and you have to process this. And I think his process is not there. So when he feels that he's met with challenges and things of that nature, I think that he doesn't know how to respond or move forward with it. He has to then decide what he's going to do to get back. And he's not thinking fast enough, so he can't comprehend fast enough to get back to where he needs to be. So he's then shelling up and he's thinking, why is this happening type thing. You know what I mean? We don't know for sure, but I can speculate that is the case. Yeah, definitely some issues there with father and coach. We've seen it live screen. We've seen it, like I said, that fight prior to was it not anyway, don't matter. Right before AJ, where he was talking to his dad and not listening to coach, and that shows. I think that was that the fight when he went 12 rounds with Big Baby, and that happened.
10 rounds, yeah.
10 rounds, and his dad's like screaming at him instead of him listening. And I mean, he ended up getting the win because he held on. He hurt Big Baby, but he was not listening to coach. So those things are important. Just want to land my plane there. So I had to reiterate 3 times.
No doubt. Hold on a second. Empty the clip. Said something interesting here. I hope it's what I remember it, but it says, "Man, that's on Daniel." Do we hear about his sister partying, or is she dangerous pro and hunting titles? He's a grown man. He got to take responsibility for it. I tell Pops to chill till later. Yes, and I think his sister Caroline Dubois is a great example and a part of this conversation as well, as Caroline has made the decision to separate from her father. Right? We know that I was going to say that they're not speaking to each other. They don't really deal with each other like that. And Caroline definitely seen the toxic energy and the controlling energy of the father and made the power move for her own career to walk away. But I mean, Caroline's probably a little bit more here and present. And Daniel may depend on his father a little bit more. So the question is the issue Don, or is it issue his father in real time?
Well, we don't know the whole details, but I do know from Caroline because I was able, we were able to interview her on a panel, and she talked about it. And she talked about this about a year and a half ago, and she hasn't even spoken to her brother. That's how bad it is. You know what I mean? And it's a sad situation. You got 2 talented, brothers who are champions. But something is going on with the father element because that's where it starts from. And that's from her mouth. That's not from me just saying it. It's just there's issues over there with that. And the controllingness that he does with Daniel is not something that he can do with her. Actually, they didn't even want her to box. And she took it upon herself to do so. So, yeah, there is that element. I think Coach Eddie talked about, you do have some fathers that overtake the situation when you're, especially when I have a son and we're I said we do wrestling and baseball too and whatever, but wrestling is a heart in the household and yeah, I was just training early on, but there comes a point in time when I got 3 national D1 champions who are his trainers. Who the hell am I? You know what I mean? And you have to let it go. And that is established in my son, what they say. Now, what do I come in part now? I understand what Coach Eddie says. Yeah, you got fathers going home, coming to the practice, they're talking to their son. My job at that point is being dad, the motivator. The give me your all type of stuff. Don't leave nothing, don't leave it all at the mat. That type of stuff.
Leave no stone unturned, right?
Right. That and if I have to reiterate what the coach is telling him to do, but let's say I'm on the mat with my son.
So the word is you are a support system to the coach's game plan.
Absolutely. I may at times I may be caught by myself with my son on the mat, and I'm the one. But once my boy gets right next to me,
you fall into the shadows.
Oh, hey, it's me like right now, and then it
just like that.
I mute myself. I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done. You know what I mean? Because but you do have dads who egos and this and that. Oh, I built my son and all that type of shit. Look, I mean, there's a lot of toxicity within that, and it's very true. It happens, but there comes a point in time that I don't know why fathers would do this. It's not about your ass, bro. It's about your son, and you want him to succeed at whatever fucking cost it is. I don't need zero accolades. I don't need that. And there's a lot of these fathers who need that accolade. Oh, I don't want my son to go here because then if he wins, he gets all the credit. That shit has to be cleaned out, and there needs to be maybe a program to teach fathers how to be a father and stop being that whatever egotistical shit. But Coach Eddie's right about that. That shit happens.
Yeah, man. I think it's interesting, and the father-son dynamic is a conversation that never gets old in the boxing space because we see so much father-son dynamic, and some of them work well. Like I think the Masons have a very so far good dynamic with their father. I think Abdullah works very well with his father. I think that Virgil Ortiz and his father seem to be comfortable working with each other. Obviously, Robert Garcia is there as well, right? So he plays his role though. It seems like Virgil Ortiz Sr. kind of like shares it in a fair way to where all the work can get done. But when you look at certain dynamics, I think Bill Haney is also somebody who can be celebrated as somebody who works well with his son. I know people might have different ideas about that, but I think he does. But I look at I'm gonna bring up your boy Teofimo. You know what I mean? We can segue into that as well because it does look like I don't know, that fight looks like it might be happening between him and Shakur Stevenson, which I think is a great thing. But father-son dynamic conversation wise, we watched that dynamic be toxic at one point, in my opinion, where it just looked like his father was overwhelming the situation a little bit. It does seem a little bit more balanced now, but at times when I do see them in the ring, I wonder how much respect and understanding there is there. How much is I see a lack of strategy from Tio. I see a lot of freestyle, a lot of just we're going to take it as it comes inside of the ring. And I'm wondering, is that the father's game plan or is that Tio kind of doing his own thing in the ring? But that being said, though, Teofimo does look like he's going to make this fight happen. It turns out, from my understanding and seeing a Teofimo interview a few days ago, I feel like he made it public that he's no longer with Top Rank. Is that what your understanding is, HLD?
He owes them percentages. That's what he owes them percentages of his next two fights with Turkey, and that's what I've been saying all along. And
so he's there, but he's still steering his own career. Basically, he just has to be whatever he decides.
He owes them the percentage of what they leased him out to Turkey for, and after that, then I guess he's a free agent. To my understanding, as far as that, I can 100% say. But he has two fights with Turkey. I've told you guys there's a contract. Turkey's he can't get rid of him. He's gonna have to honor it. And that's where we're at. And so this fight is supposed to happen early next year,
February, right?
Tio is trying to allow Turkey, as he said, he hates when fighters do all the chirping before the fight he announces. And so Tio's trying to bite his tongue as much as possible with the back and forth about it. But that's where we're at.
Okay. I mean, the fight looks like it's okay, no doubt. The fight looks like it's gonna happen, in my opinion. That's how I'm feeling about it as I'm seeing it. I could be wrong, especially when dealing with these with the conversation with Teofimo. But I like that fight. I think it's a great fight. Teofimo champion. I'm assuming Shakur Stevenson will be going up to 140 to challenge Teofimo for his title, and becoming a four-weight class champion? No, three-weight, four-weight.
Four-weight, aiming for his fourth.
Yeah.
I don't think he wants to fight though. I tell you that much.
Who's Shakur?
Yeah. His name that he's been wanting is Lamont Roach.
But he definitely, Lamont has become available, and
that's his man that he really wants. You see how he's trying to push Keyshawn Davis.
Trying to push him on TO, right? Like,
I mean, he announced this week. Oh, I can't wait till Keyshawn gets back. Then you get a BS hit piece by Boxing Scene that he's gonna Keyshawn's gonna petition to become the #1 mandatory to Teal's belt, which I mean, if you understand, he doesn't have a belt to leverage for that position, and two, Teal just satisfied his mandatory in May. He doesn't have to honor another one for another 18 months. So it's useless, but they don't think of those things before they start chirping. But that he wants Lamont Roach. He said it comfortably. He wants to stay at 135. His hand suddenly, all of a sudden, my hand is no good for the rest of the 20. But he ended up sparring Crawford. Like, what are we talking about, dude? You don't want this fight. I think he's caught in the same Haney space that he got caught up with Norman Jr. and Turkey pulled his card. Simple as that. And the offer's on the table, and here we are now. It
is what it is. You might be right though. I mean, look, I am aware.
I want to see the fight though. I want to see the fight.
Oh yeah, for sure. I am aware of Keyshawn Davis's campaign to get put at #1 in the WBO rankings, and I think that's also a great fight. Keyshawn and Teofimo, I think, is a great fight. I think it's a fight Turkey should be willing to get behind, being that that Keyshawn is also a ring ambassador. You know what I mean? Last I checked, at least. So that fight is a great fight. And you're right. It frees up Shakur if Keyshawn takes that fight and gives him an opportunity to go ahead and fight Lamont Roach and have that common opponent. You think he's like scared or something, or like he thinks he
doesn't want to move? He's very comfortable at 135. This is his third weight division. You know what I mean? This is his third weight division. He said it many a times. I'm very, very, very comfortable here. I could be here forever. And that's where he wants to be at. He chirped with Conor Benn. You know he ain't gonna fight no damn Conor Benn. We know that. You know what I mean? And he's not the only. All fighters do this. They're gonna push the envelope, get their names out there because it's also a business. It's also a business, and any type of relevancy is good relevancy, regardless if it's true or not. And so you have to understand more the real facts of things to understand. Okay, this is the BS part, and it's hard to decipher for many people. I mean, because you're not involved in the sport, and you understand rules, and you understand many of these interviews, and you're out seeing what they're doing. You're not gonna catch on to it. You're just taking it as what you see it. But I think Shakur is a 135er for a long time, if that's what he chooses to want to be, because that's what he's been saying. And I believe it is his third weight division, guys. He's not a huge dude. I don't know where everybody says he's a big dude. He's not.
Shakur, bigger than you think, bro. I don't know if you ever met him. I met Shakur multiple times.
I met him once. I'm
not saying he's not like.
I don't even say I met him. He was talking to somebody else. I was just staying in the same group, but he wasn't.
Yeah. I'm not saying he's like a 180-pound kid, but I'm saying like for his weight that he fights at, he's definitely a good 20-30 pounds over his weight. So, he makes it easy.
I feel like he's a small dude. I ain't gonna lie. When I met him,
Clay, I ain't gonna shout your height and your weight out. You know what I mean? It's not my business, but you know what I mean. So that's a big difference from you to me.
To me, that's what I was saying.
You know what I mean? So I mean, like I met Keith Colon, all them guys. Like when you look at Keith Colon, that's what you expect a 135-pound guy to look like. And Keith Colon fights at 126, I believe, or 125, whatever, somewhere around there. I don't know. But anyway, long story short. Yeah, he's definitely walking around like 160, 158 in that ballpark. So he's not a everybody just I guess wears their weight differently. But Shakur, you can see when he bulks up after his rehydration. He's a solid kid, man. No doubt. But I don't see him having a problem fighting at his natural weight. The problem I do agree with HLD on this, is the punch resistance. Does it move up with him? I mean, is he able? I know he spars with Bud and all that, but what did he say? Bud whipped his ass, right? Why did Bud whip his ass? Because he couldn't handle the punch resistance at the stronger fighter. So, I mean, it's very simple and very easy to do the math on that. I mean, he can gradually move up, and you know, as you move up, you get older. You know, that punch resistance does help, and you get used to it, and you can adjust to it. But just going straight from the from the what do you say, from the kettle to the fire, it ain't gonna happen like that. It doesn't happen like that. We've never seen people really do that. We're actually seeing it first or second time now. What happened? We were talking about Jamel earlier. He moved right into that same category. What happened? He felt that fire. He was like, "Yo," he shut down. We're about to see it with Bud, right? We're about to see if it really does transcend, excuse me, and work for Bud, because Bud's moving into the fire from the frying pan, or the kettle, whatever you want to call it. So we're going to see it with that fight. But as far as Shakur goes, the Conor Benn thing, I just think that Conor Benn gets a lot of credit for being this great fighter. I think he has a lot of flaws. The problem is Conor Benn has been up to 160. So he has a lot of strength, and regardless, he's a warrior. So that can play a big part in fighting somebody like Shakur. And Shakur is definitely just selling wolf tickets, in my opinion, on that. If he's gonna make it happen, he's good. You know, I mean, all the power to him. I root for him, whatever. But I just don't see that.
Okay. I mean, what else? Any other topics that we missed on? I know we talked a little bit about we already talked about Jamel and this whole return to 154, and I think HLD did bring up Virgil, and he's trying to get Virgil out of here. I don't know. Do you, HL? Let me ask you a question. Do you look at Virgil as the biggest threat to Xander? Are you trying to get him derailed? Are you trying to get him?
Not at all, man. Because my analyzation, what I've seen from Virgil, I think the excitement of the fights that he makes him out to be better than what he really is. He's made average fighters look like world beaters when other fighters don't have to go through that with those same opponents. I think he's an exciting fighter. You know, the ad flows of his fights are awesome. Knock down, get up, come back, all that shit. You know, he's an exciting fighter. There ain't no doubt about it. With a lot of cojones, bro. Big balls. Nobody can take that away. But is he great? I don't think so. I don't think so. And if he was, he could have just gone to Puerto Rico and snagged that belt off that 22-year-old snot-nosed kid.
That little kid. Just started growing a little hair on his face. Trying to
just
keep his mustache together. Just
smack him, bro. Yeah, just smack, bro. I'm gonna do a Bernard Hopkins on your ass, and you know what I mean? Do that, bro. Do it. He don't want to do it now. The bigger topic from you guys were talking about the Charlo. He's putting all these names out, and I think I said it in the chat. He's putting all these names out. But that's, again, here's the typical, I'm going to get relevance in my name out there. We already know that the WBA, Gilberto Mendoza, has already announced that he is going to announce him as the mandatory to the champion of the WBA title. Currently, that's Bud Crawford. He announced that once he steps into the ring with Canelo, the Bararu guy who just beat Tellez, he's going to be elevated and become the full champion. So that's who Charlo's going to be fighting next. You see? Because he's the champion in recess. They changed the rules last year. It's supposed to only be for a year. It's been over a year since then. But they changed that they can rule on the circumstance. And so they're allowing Charlo to exercise the champion in recess mandatory to whoever's going to be champion, which is going to be by we got to say his name right, Baru or Bararu or
Abbas Barahu.
So he's gonna be your next WBA champion.
So, but I thought there was a WBC that he was a recess in. I thought that that the WBA just took the belt away from him completely and elevated Tim Tszyu. I don't know. Oh no, Tim Tszyu was a WBO. You're right. The WBA did put him in recess. You're right. My bad. It was a WBO that night. That's true. That's true.
So I mean, I'm just saying, you know, but I'm excited. I want to see this guy back. We need these names in here, bro. We need the 154 names in the division because you know I want to see these bigger fights. That's all I'm saying. He's an exciting fighter, and I like to see that.
Do you think the division is more competitive and more dangerous than it was in comparison to the division that Jermell Charlo became an undisputed champion in?
It is a lot more dangerous now. You're talking about Castaño. How does Castaño measure up to these? I don't think he measures up. I don't think he measures up to the new bloods now. You know, you got Boots, you got Virgil. You got the young technical, the surgeon Xander Zayas. You know, I think it's a much different division.
Even the fighters that have lost, right? Like
Bachram or Bohachuk,
Charles
Bohachuk.
Conwell is still a factor. Bohachuk is still a factor. Yeah, I mean, even the lowly guys, I'm saying, even the guys, the Jesus Ramos is, not the top names are still. I think the division is just a more competitive. Even Erickson Lubin is a complete different fighter than he was, than when Jamel fought him. I think he's jumping into a hornet's nest. I think that the division is going to earn its name when he comes back in there, and I think he's going to fight some hard fights.
I'm not sleeping on Lubin, man. My only concern with Lubin is his punch resistance. That is my only concern with Lubin at this point. What is his punch resistance? Because he's a great boxer and he can punch. So
look, the aircraft carrier put in some names of the fighters that were back then. Those fighters aren't doing it with these fighters. Castaño is a good fighter, but he's not rocking out against Virgil. He's not going crazy on Xander. He's not wilding out on Charles Conwell. Banana, come on, bro. Banana is. Banana was a victory for him, but Banana just got beat up in 160 by Jesus Ramos. Tony Harrison, who's Tony Harrison beating up in 154 right now? His last fight, he wasn't looking like that. And Erickson Lubin, like I said, has evolved. But I think this division is a way. Jared Hurd, he's retired last time I checked. Lara's at 116 old. Those were two good fighters, though, back when Charlo was at 150. When he was active, those were two good fighters. But look, at the end of the day, I think it's a different division, and I think he's 2 years out, hiatus, however you want to look at, whatever the reasons are. That man has not been active, and how activity does a fighter. A fighter will show up a different fighter 2 years later, and you'd be like, "Who is this guy?" It is what it is.
Hey,
it is.
So I'm just sitting back listening to the names you called out.
Mm-hmm.
Are we throwing Earl Spence away?
No, we're not throwing Errol Spence away. We're just not talking about him until he comes back. Right? Yeah, bro, I'm not doing that with Errol. Sorry, I'm not gassing myself up, getting hyped up on that. He got to show me something. He got to do an interview. That's what I want to see. Sit down in front of Ariel. Sit down in front of. Don't go to Ellie Sekback and not fight hype, maybe. I'll let you fight hype, but I want to see some real questions get answered. I want to know what's been going on in the past 2 years. I want to know what your aspirations is with your boxing career, right? You don't even have to give me a comeback date. Just you doing that will let me know to start talking about you again. But I'm not going to keep doing this. Every time I see you on social media, you at a soccer game, or you show me a couple of still pictures, you throwing some shots in some makeshift sparring. I don't know what's going on with you, brother. I think at the end of the day, Errol Spence's payday that he needs to get back. I think they need to figure that out before we can even start talking about him. That's how I feel.
So you don't think that that's real deal? Him and Charlo. You don't think that's the real deal?
I think Charlo was just saying his name as far as if people. I think Charlo's kind of doing some damage control, and he knows once he gets back into the light, there's going to be a lot of questions asked about him, and I think he's just kind of addressing it just to say it on the level of everybody can get it. You know what I mean? Everybody can get it. That's what he's letting me know. You bring up Errol to me, he can get it. You bring up Boots, he can get it. You bring up Terrence, roll him up. You bring up Sebastian Fundora, I love deer. I love a giraffe, man. Put it on the barbecue. Let's have at it. I think he's just letting it be known that there's nothing he's turning away, but I don't think that speaks to Errol Spence and him negotiating squat.
So because his next fight is for that belt.
Yep.
Do you think that he's kind of like in that same boat? Because we hadn't seen him since Canelo, right?
No, but the difference is you have an active sanctioning body already dropping his name. He's going to be the next mandatory for the WBA champion. And so there's something and at least solidified by his sanctioning body that he's coming for that.
So right. Yeah, and who's that champion? That's open, right?
Say the name. Barahu. Don't make fun of that man's name. Don't do that, bro. Barahu. I got you, Abbas. Barahu.
I'm about to say he's saying his name like his dog is barking back in the background, bro.
Come on, man.
Yo.
Like your dog
crazy. Why you messing with my dog, bro?
Wait, hold on. Before we go in there, I want to address this. Colorado Spock, JR Spock in the building says, Clay, can you touch on the possibility of Bivol at cruiserweight and what that looks like? Yo, listen, that's an interesting story that's developing coming out that Turkey's actually speaking to Bivol about going up. So Bivol looks like he's not going to even do the better BF fight, right? Which means, and I think that's interesting because it puts light heavyweight more than looking at what that Bivol fight looks like with Jai Opetaia, which I think will be a great fight, by the way. I think it's going to be a really good fight if that fight comes together. I don't know which way I'm leaning to. I mean, my instincts wants to go with Jai Opetaia because that's his division. And I think people sleep on his athleticism and his boxing aptitude as well. I think he's a better boxer than what people think he is. And I think Bivol is also just a great fighter, obviously. Athletic, IQ, pedigree. I think this will be the fight that we kind of hoped Better BF could give Bivol, because I just think Better BF I just think it's unfortunate that this man had to be damn near 40 years old before he fought Bivol. You know what I mean? No matter how he looked against Bivol, I just think a younger version of him 3 years earlier, you know what I mean? Just 2-3 years earlier would probably give us a better version of Better BF. I think that's what we'll see with a Jai Opetaia. But I think there's also another side to this story, which was, what does the light heavyweight division look like now with 3 belts now? Not with Bivol, and now I guess are we going to see champions be elevated? Are they going to fight for these vacant belts? And I think that paints a whole different picture and opens up the landscape for David Benavidez. What do you guys think?
Great points. Go ahead, HLD, if you want to jump in. I was going to tap in real quick. Yeah, it's a good move. I think that Bivol moving up is going to be surprisingly something that we never thought. He's shown that he's true and tried. I mean, he's been in there with the best, regardless of Better B being one of the oldest. He still gave him a good fight. Like you just said, Clay, I mean, we owe that to the WBC for holding that fight off, right? For not allowing that fight to happen 2 or 3 years ago. But as we move forward, we see a challenge. Now, my thing is, Joe Opetaia is a huge, tall, lanky, strong fighter.
Athletic, too. I think he's understated. Right, he's pretty athletic.
So with that being said, though he throws haymakers, he's susceptible to getting punched. Bivol's very, very collected. He's well-rounded. He sits. He's patient. I think that's a great fight. I think it brings two solid points to boxing. You know what I mean? Styles make fights. And I think this is be a good fight based on styles. In that case, but you know what I mean. I have nothing else. But go ahead, HLD. My bad.
I can't say my bad on your show, man.
I cut you off, bro.
No, man. I'm the interrupter, bro. I think it's look. I don't know where Bivol's at because I think his health, back problems, whatever the hell it is that he's stating that he's got, and the pictures that I've seen don't look like he's in the gym at least. He just looks like he's just chilling. You know what I mean? And so what is there something taken out of him from the Better B fights or not? I don't know. But if we get the best version of Bivol, he's gonna smoke Opetaia in the ring. He's gonna let him know what boxing is about. Simple as that. He's gonna let him know this is boxing. This is why I'm the best. That's why I beat 2 undisputed champions, not 1. You know what I mean? And so he's gonna go up there and show him what's up. I really believe that. I think nobody. I really think Bivol is just not popular, but I think he's the best boxer in the game, pure boxer in the game. Nobody better.
Wow,
Dimitri Bivol.
It's for a big man. Yeah,
it's poetry in motion, bro. It's poetry in motion. I don't see no flaws in this man. This is man's game. I just don't.
Yeah. You know what's crazy, HLD?
Right, he's got a rhythm to him.
You know what's crazy, right. HLD? When I watched him in his last fight with Better BF, I remember as I was watching it, I was thinking exactly what you're saying. I was watching him. I'm like, I said, yo, this dude, he seemed unbeatable. Just the movement was it. Because I know Artur Better BF was putting that pressure, but he was just dealing with it like a gangster.
Yeah.
Like it was a masterclass in boxing. And I remember just watching it round for round for round, 12 rounds and it got to a point where I was like, yo, is he the nicest boxer? I remember it's so funny you said that because I remember saying that in my mind, like, yo, is he the nicest boxer in the game? Because he's really just putting on a masterclass. Jai Opetaia in his fight against Marius Briedis, right? that fight was a difficult fight for him, right? And that guy brought some pedigree. We watched Jai Opetaia be very dominant in the cruiserweight division, but I don't know. I give him his respect. I think he's a decent boxer, but his last couple of opponents just haven't been those guys who are like, proving who he is. He's just shown that he's probably the best cruiserweight in the division. And I gotta lean towards HLD right now as far as where I'm at with it, because at first I said I would go with the youth of Jai Opetaia and say that he would be able to just take advantage of an older Dimitri Bivol, and also keeping in mind that Dimitri Bivol just came off of back surgery. I don't know what version of this guy we're going to see, but I think, pedigree wise, like you said, HLD, this guy comes in the ring 95%, let's say, right? Maybe he's not 100%. He comes into the ring, just better than he was with Artur Beterbiev, because I'm assuming that's what the surgery is for. I can see him really schooling the living daylights out of John.
And let's not forget what he did to Zurdo Ramirez. He beat the shit out of him.
He definitely did. And Zurdo's a unified champion right now in that cruiserweight division.
That's what I'm saying. I think Bivol, 100% healthy Bivol, I think he becomes undisputed at cruiserweight. That's how I feel about it. Opetaia, we forget. He's got his ass whooped with 2 broken orbital bones by this old dude. And in the second fight, the old dude was putting paws on him still. It was war. So, I mean, I get the athleticism. I get the power that he's got. I think Opetaia is kind of like a Virgil to me. Exciting to watch. You want to see his fights. Must watch TV.
Right.
But how great really is he? I don't know.
Okay, let's jump out the box. Because it's right at the tip of my tongue.
Oh, the aircraft carrier. You think that was extreme?
No. I'm saying what I'm thinking. How long do you think it would have to be before we think about Usyk and
Dimitri?
What we just talked about? Them two.
Dimitri Bivol?
Yeah, Bivol and Usyk. If he's going to cruiserweight, would that be the equivalent to what Bud's doing?
No.
It's only one
Jumping from Cruz. Let's give him like a year.
No, it's only
give him like a year.
It's not the same.
I'm saying, well, if he's going for,
it'd be impressive, but it's not the same. Bud is really defying the laws of science, and he defines.
So it's not really.
People are having a hard time like metabolizing this move on the like scientific level. They're like, this is ridiculous. He's going up. Like people are having a hard time dealing with Terrence Crawford's move.
What Usyk did to go to heavyweight, kind of in the realm of what now we see Bud doing with Canelo. That I could kind of put in it because it's an unlimited weight class, and he's fighting giants over there. So it's
so let me say it in let's say in a year, that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility to see Usyk and Bivol in a fight.
That ain't happening. I think my man is ready to, because I think 2026 is his last year. All right, he's 38.
Yeah, he's
right?
not hanging out. He's not hanging out.
He's 38, 39. He's gonna collect 1 or 2 more $20 million, $30 million paychecks from Turkey, and sayonara.
And he's gonna help build back, go back and help build back Ukraine up. I do think, though, just to go on the record, I would love to see a Dimitri Bivol Alexander Usyk fight. I would like to see it. I ain't gonna lie, just like fantasy wise, I don't think it's gonna happen, but I think that'd be a great fight. Dimitri Bivol versus Alexander Usyk, maybe at a cruiserweight, make it even better. But a heavyweight, wherever it's at, I think Dimitri Bivol versus Alexander Usyk would be an interesting fight. I think you can't say Dimitri Bivol
always goes with what the fans
fighter
want
in the world and not be intrigued with what that looks like against quite an arguable pound for pound generational great all-time great heavyweight champion like Alexander Usyk, and knowing his history, he had a cruiserweight as well. Unifying.
Imagine a Russian versus a Ukrainian.
Oh, diabolical, bro.
Crazy work. That's crazy.
Yo, that would be be crazy.
That's different.
That would be crazy in this atmosphere.
Somebody call Turkey. Somebody call Turkey.
There's a money guy right now in Russia right now who's supporting Dimitri Bivol and wants to finance a fight between him
and then you'll have Orange Man come in and say, okay, the winner is gonna take over the country of the.
We need to really talk about this, guys. Guys, do we really need to talk about this?
Yo, you sounded like him, yo.
Shout out to my guy Trump, bro.
Okay.
You know my guy would jump right up there.
Give me a minute, yo. Please slow down.
Hold on here. It's you now, peace.
All I make is deals. Hey, all I make is deals, and this is the deal. Whoever wins
gets free. They become a citizen.
They become a citizen. They get the country. Bring it out. Make America great again.
Like a for real.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm here for it. I'm here for it, man. I'm 100% here for it, man. Let's get it. Nah, it is what it is. It is what it is, man. So what else? What other topics? Was there anything else that I missed?
No.
It's about that time for me. I ain't gonna lie, man. It's about that time, and I'm just trying to figure it out. Make sure we covered everything. I think we talked about everything, man. Tiafimo.
I don't know if you did, but did anybody catch the Danny Garcia?
No, I didn't. I gotta catch it. I want to see what happened. What'd you get from it? Put us on though. What did you get from it?
I watched like the first half of it, but listen, I gotta finish it. I'm just gonna tell you, it is good. I didn't get the PBC question. I was wanting to hear that part, and I just had to leave, bro.
What are we talking about?
That was crazy.
I'm lost in.
You're talking about the Danny Garcia Ak and Barack interview. Now, I guess he spoke on the relationship with the PBC and why he hasn't been active, and I think he probably talked a little bit about what's going on over there. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, okay. I'll check it out.
Shout out to Ak and Barack.
Yeah, it is what it is. Guys, I appreciate you guys coming up here, man. We're at the 3.5 hour mark, man. Great panel as usual. Love these panels. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure we're hitting the like button if you haven't done it yet. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, take an opportunity, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I think we have some of the best in-depth conversations on boxing on this platform. And I'm talking, and I think the panels are some of the best panels in the space right now. And I'm being honest, respectfully to all these other panels, but I think these panels are really, top level scholarship panels, man. I appreciate each one of you guys every time you guys show up here and contribute to the content, man. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you. Salute to you, Ray. Salute HL, Pop Shop, Coach Eddie. Shelton was up here for a minute. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. It's that ATP Combat Media. It's your boy Rain. Until the next one. At this point,
we out. Crazy.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing.